love others. You gotta love the mothers. And you gotta hug the ones who bring us joy and love. It's the middle with the moms and the sister day.
Hey guys, thank y'all for being patient. I know this podcast was supposed to come out yesterday, but of course I honestly forgot and had a lot going on with lots of photo shoots this week. And of course we're in the midst of wedding season, so it's been a little crazy. But it's kind of perfect because I'm guessing by the time this gets uploaded, it will be June 11th, which is perfect because June 11th is actually Anna Kate's birthday. I just wanted to give a little, FYI, a little heads up. This episode is extremely emotional. It is incredible. I mean, there's, no words. It's a big story, but it's extremely hard to hear. It's, it's honestly gut-wrenching. I'm a part of the Anna Kate Wins Fight Foundation. If you know me, you know I've held 2 fundraisers for it. And it's a story of a sweet little girl who passed away at the age of 2 from cancer. So it's obviously very emotional and traumatic, but I wanted to bring her wonderful, incredible mother, Jennifer, on here to share her story and inspire us all. If you do, listen to it, it is going to change your life literally forever. How not only you look at life, but how you look at your children. And it will help you take in every single moment with them and cherish it. And also it will enlighten you about what all these parents are going through and children are going through who have cancer, who are at St. Jude. So if you feel inspired to help out this foundation, which you will learn in this podcast what the foundation is doing. And just to sum it up, it's to help every family in Target House in specific ways, like specifically for them. It's not just, donating it to St. Jude. It's getting in contact with these parents and getting them what they need. And you'll hear on the second half of the podcast, Jennifer talk about that. But if you do want to donate money, you can Venmo them at AK-Fight. Or if you are interested in donating something for the silent auction, which I do not have a date for that yet. I need to get back with Lafayette about it. I'm hoping to do it later this year when, wedding season's kind of slowed down a little bit. But if you're interested in donating an item, it can range from a signed guitar to bath bombs. And I use those examples because that was what I had 2 years ago. But it can be anything, it can be something autographed. It can be a gift card. If you, sell things like I sell Beauty Counter, I'll probably donate each regimen, anything like that. And if you're not sure, just message me and I can, let you know if it'll work. It probably will. Or even an experience. I've had someone want to donate, a week in their condo or something. I had someone donate a Steph Curry jersey signed, and that was like a huge deal, or still would be a huge deal. So anything, it can be anything big or anything small, just anything to help raise some money for these families who are going through such a hard time that, all we can do is pray that somebody comes up with a cure for this. But I just wanted to give a heads up that it is emotional. I did have postpartum depression. I guess I still do, but, postpartum depression and anxiety, and taking or listening to this story and other stories, I am definitely an empath, and I really get invested, and I, feel what they're feeling, not to, the extent, but, it tugs at my heart, and it really gets to me. And my pelvic floor therapist, I talked to her about this because it can take a toll on you. She told me to envision a jar and write down that. So like I would write down, Anna Kate's story on a popsicle stick, and I would stick that popsicle stick in the jar and then put that away and tell my body, you know, maybe even wash my hands or take a shower and wash away all the negative feelings, the hurt, the emotions, and let it go, because your body can't take on every single person's, you know, story and problems and feelings. You can only handle yours. You can do things to make a difference for people, but you don't need to take on the whole world. And I know a lot of us feel like we need to. But I'm, you know, slowly but surely learning how to deal with that. Anyway, that's just a little advice on that. I do hope that you all do listen to this. It's amazing. Jennifer is such an inspiration to every single mom out there. She's obviously been through so much, but she has stayed so strong, and it's just really inspiring. And I don't know, I could say a million different things and getting emotional thinking about it, but thank you for listening. And please, if you feel, you know, the need, please donate. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, and enjoy listening to this beautiful story of the sweetest little girl in the world, who my daughter is actually named after, Anna Kate. It's kind of nerve-wracking with all this stuff, but it gets cool.
But it's nice. That's fantastic, and it gives you a whole nother opportunity.
Oh, I know.
For venting and for just letting it off your chest when you need to let it off your chest. That's fantastic.
This is therapeutic.
Yes.
It's so therapeutic for me. But yeah, I was trying to think, what can I do? And I started listening to podcasts. I'm cutting in and out. Let's see. And then I was like, what can I do that's relatable to everybody? And mom stuff, being a mom. And then
everyday life.
Yes. And then telling moms, you know, this is everyday life. It's not beautiful as it is on Instagram for everyone. It can be really hard. So I wanted people to be able to relate. It is beautiful too, but you know what I mean?
But it's work.
It's a lot of work.
And you get lost in all of that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And that's what I tell so many people. You know, even my mother used to talk about it. And, you know, you think when you look back at your raising, it's like, wow, my mom lived through all of this. Like, she survived. I understand why she was angry some days. I understand why I didn't always get the best of her, because she was tired. She was done.
I feel bad now. I tell my mom, I'm sorry I ever got mad at you.
Yes.
Wow. 3, oh gosh.
There is no training to becoming a mother.
No.
There's absolutely no training to becoming a mother. They don't teach you that you have to lose yourself in some degree. And, you know, you read all these books. It's like, you know, you keep your identity. You don't. And if you do, I don't know how you do that.
You have to find a new identity and find your new self. And I freaking love being a mom, but it has obviously been a little challenging.
Yes.
But,
yes.
But you just have to find that balance of taking care of yourself so that you can take care of your kids. But,
yes.
Okay. And by the way, I've done 4 of these now, and I had a whole thing written out to stay on track. I didn't do that for us. So I'm so sorry.
I can talk to a brick wall.
I know, me too.
To the table. It doesn't matter.
And me and you can talk forever.
Yes. So and you ask whatever. I promise.
Okay. So Jennifer, thank you for being here with me today and letting me come to Martin and take over your dining room. I'm so excited to see y'all again. I haven't seen y'all in a hot minute thanks to COVID and having another baby.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see you again. And when I thought about doing this whole podcast thing, you were definitely one of the first people I thought of, obviously, because you're definitely a mom I look up to, and you're very inspiring to me. And I think that hopefully not a ton of people can relate to in what we're about to talk about, but I think that you can help a lot of people, even who can relate to you, but who can, look at life differently.
I don't mind sharing my story.
Yes.
By no means.
Yes.
It's not a beautiful story, but it is.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I tell people, you know, that how do you get up every morning? I said, there's mornings I struggle all day long, but what I go back for is the promises and the things that I probably made mistakes with on my first go. And I think the good Lord kind of gave me a swift kick in the pants and said, hey, you know, here you go. You've got to be you, but you've got to be a better you, because you've got a little girl that's going to need all of you. and you've got a little boy that doesn't understand what's going on. And
Right.
and I think that's it. I tell the kids, I said, I will never mind sharing my story. Is it roses and sunflowers? No, it's not. But it also, in the same sense, it's empowering to me to share her story, because that gives me the opportunity to keep my promise to her. And it also sheds light on, maybe another child doesn't go through the same thing, but a mom is going through the terrible twos. The mom is going through whatever. Those are the same struggles. It's just the picture looks different.
Right. Exactly. I do want to say kind of how we met too, really quick.
Sure.
So y'all live in Martin.
Right.
Good old Martin. Martin is the place that made me realize I am a country girl. I grew up going to the lake and stuff, but Martin is very small compared to Memphis and very country. You make your own fun, which, oh my gosh, I love being here. But I played soccer, and that's what brought me here. And then when I went back home, somehow y'all got connected to me to do a video for the foundation. And I've had in the past and recently a lot of people ask me to do different kinds of things, but I've been honestly so busy, even pre-kids, but that I just I didn't have time for anything. And then when I didn't even know anything. I didn't know the story. I didn't even know Anna Kate's name. I didn't know anything. And I was just felt so connected. It was really weird. It was a God thing. It was an Anna Kate thing. But I was yes, tell me more. What can we do? And I drove out here, and we pretty much did what we're doing right now, but different sense. But heard the story, and I never got to meet Anna Kate, but my daughter's named after her. And I think about her every day, especially with the pink sunset driving home last night from Nashville. It was a beautiful pink sunset. I'm sure you saw it.
Yes.
And I thought of her. But I feel very connected to her, and she pretty much brought my husband into my life by me asking him to play in the fundraiser. And then that brought me my two beautiful children. And so she's done a lot for me. But yeah, so I would love to talk about the story and just everything. And of course, I want to talk about the foundation because, we did have 2 successful fundraisers that I got to host, which was so cool. My first ever thing doing that. And with the silent auction was really cool things. But the first one was at Neil's, and it was a big old party.
It was
so fun. Super successful for my first. And then the second one was at Lafayette's, which was is the best music venue in Memphis.
10 times bigger too.
So much bigger.
Yes.
It was a blast. It was crazy, and just so thankful they let me host it there. And then of course we were going to do it again, and COVID, came in and ruined that one for us. But we're going to get on the books this year for sure. I just told Mike that Lafayette's asked me whenever I would want to do it again. So I'm they asked me when I want to do it. So I was oh, they came to me, so we got to. So yeah, but anyway, let's talk about Anna Kate, and then we can totally talk about the foundation and the promises that you made to her and everything. So.
All right.
Okay.
Well, with Anna Kate, her story is a normal story up until about 1.5 years old. And at about 1.5 years, we were a normal family, a family of 4. We were going in all different directions. We had football, we had softball, we had, you name it, we were doing it with my oldest, and she was just along for the ride. But about 1.5 years old, we started noticing some kind of weird things going on with her. And like most parents, you're concerned, but you kind of swipe it aside and say, it's a childhood virus. It's the stomach flu. It's, whatever, trying not to make more of it than you want to.
Absolutely.
And with her, she was never sick. This child was the epitome of a healthy kid, because on a good day, she would eat you out of house and home. On a bad day, she would eat you out of the refrigerator. So, she never stopped eating. Right. But then all of a sudden, she made this change with us, and she was refusing to eat. She would tell me that she didn't want any more, and we'd not even taken a bite. I thought, okay, that's weird.
Right.
But, we're almost 2. 2-year-olds become independent little souls, and they choose when to eat. They choose when not to eat. They choose what to eat. And we don't often get a lot of choice in that. You just kind of sacrifice the diet just to make
that stage.
Yes. Nutrition is important, whether it's a chip, whether it's corn dog, whether it's mac and cheese, whether it's actually a full-blown meal. It didn't matter. It was calories.
Right.
But, we went to the pediatrician a couple times with her because we were seeing the weight loss, and it was like, I could tell with her. I thought, I don't know what's going on. And, he was the same. He didn't see anything major to cause alarm. And our pediatrician is amazing. That man, we still see him to this day. And, he would tell us, well, let's watch her weight. We'll check it again in a couple weeks and just see. Well, in those couple of weeks, we started noticing that, she was waking up at night, and she just wasn't quite right. She wasn't a baby that was complaining or needed anything. Usually once she went to bed, she was in bed. But then when she started waking up on us, it was like, something's going on. I'm not sure what, but something. And it started to intensify to the point of I became concerned. And I call it the mama intuition. Oh, yeah. At that point, I knew something's just not right. I can't put my finger on it, but something's not right. So good old Google. And I start looking, you start putting in symptoms but then you get the worst things that pop up.
I do it all the time. I need to stop.
I know. And we refer to that, and it only increases the stress that you're worrying about. And then in turn, you're really kind of hovering over them. Like, okay, do I see this? Do I not? And then you're not sure if you really see it or not.
Right.
But we approached the pediatrician, and, we said, we see this. And he said, well, I tell you what, let's go on and refer to the gastro doctor.
Okay.
Because, she's having bowel movement issues. She's not wanting to eat. She's losing weight. Maybe it's something that we can address this way. Okay, done. We take her to Le Bonheur. We talk to the doctor there, and the same day she goes ahead and admits her and says, we're going to do a colon cleanse. It's the essence of what it was. He said, we'll do some x-rays. We'll do some ultrasounds. Okay. We're going to give her this medicine that she's not going to like and you're not going to like, but we'll just see what we can get. And he pretty much cleared her. And, we thought we were home free. We started to see her eat a little better. We started to see her be Anna Kate, to be a little, she would be all around the house.
Right.
But literally a week into us coming back home with her, that weekend, we got to the Saturday, and it was like a complete reversal all of a sudden with her. And it was like, something is not right. I called my mom that morning. Mike had to, he had some kind of activity he had to go to. And I remember talking to my mom on the phone, and I said, Mom, something's just not right. She's not wanting to wake up with me. She's, she woke up for a couple of seconds and she wants to go back to sleep. She doesn't want anything to eat or drink. Something is not right. Yeah. And of course, she's a year and a half. She can't tell me anything. Yeah. She's just grouchy. And so I called the pediatrician, and this is the moment I think my life changed forever, because on that phone, he didn't confirm anything, but he didn't not confirm anything. Right. He said, Jen, your options are A and B. Either take her on to Le Bonheur, or you go back to Nashville, or go to Nashville with her. And I'm standing in the middle of our foyer thinking, I don't know where to go. We just came from Le Bonheur. They said she's fine. Do we go to Nashville? But at that moment, I fear nothing other than my gut and the good Lord above said, hey, take her back. Go back to Le Bonheur.
To Le Bonheur.
So I called Mike, and he's like, what do we do? And I said, you need to come home. We're going to take her back to Le Bonheur. I said, I don't know what's wrong, but what I do know is she's not okay. And so that moment was really the last moment that we were here in this house as a true family of four without a diagnosis. And, thinking back at it, I tell the story of that. And it's like the good Lord knew at that moment that if he didn't intervene and put that little bit of doubt in my gut, that I would have made a bad decision. And I would have sat at home with her, and we would have watched her die. And I don't think at that moment I would have been prepared for that. No. And I wouldn't be the person I am right now.
Right.
Because it would have been a shock to my system. And I would have been angry, and I wouldn't have understood. So he gave us that moment in that hallway to make a decision. Yeah. And, even my youngest was like, what are we doing? Where are we going? I was like, you just need to go pack a bag, bud.
Yeah. How old was he then?
He was 6 at the time.
Wow.
And Mom, she's like, okay, I'm coming your way. Just call me when you make a decision. I called my sister, and I was, talking to her, and she said, that's fine, Jen, you go. And so we'll be on the road behind you.
Okay.
So we get to Le Bonheur, we're sitting there with her. And at this point, she's not wanting to wake up. She is just so lethargic. She's sitting in my arms, and it's like, okay, we go in through the ER, and I explain to the little receptionist, I'm like, this is what's happening. They never looked twice at us. She's like, come on, let's go back. And within minutes, we had a triage nurse. We had, the I guess a pediatrician, for the lack of better words, in that room with us. And she's the first thing she did, and for any medical student out there, this was the first time out of all the times between the pediatrician and this visit that a doctor actually closed the folder she had, and she said, I can read everything that's in here, but I want you to tell me the story.
Yeah.
what's going on with her. And she did. She shut the folder. She leaned against the counter. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this is a breath of fresh air. Because like the gastro doctor, you know, they listened, but it was like, this is what it is. We'll take care of it.
Right.
They didn't ever get the whole story, and they didn't listen enough because they see 100 million kids a year. And I get it. How many kids are ever going to be in this category that's sitting in their midst? Probably 0 to none.
Yeah.
But this doctor, she shut her folder. She leaned against the counter with me and she said, I'm listening. Tell me your story. And I start from the beginning.
Right.
And at the end of the story, she said, can I see her walk for a second? And of course, you know, I kind of rouse Anna Kate up and I'm like, we got to walk, sister. We got to walk.
Okay.
And she stands up, and of course, she's as drunk as a sailor. And I give her a hard time with that because I'm like, sister, you can't walk a straight line to save your life. And she's like, just pick her up. It's okay.
Okay.
And at that moment, she said, you know, I know you thought you were coming for a belly CT, but I think we're going for a head CT. And I was, you know, I'd read Google. I knew what she was coming to me in the direction that I was fixing to go. And I thought, oh, no. She said, I'll bring her back. It's fine. And so, you know, we sit there in that little room waiting for her to have that CT done. And the nurse come back in with her, and I picked her back up, and we had her in my arms. And, you know, you see it on the medical shows on TV. The nurse and the doctor comes in, and she looks at Braden. She's like, can we have him step outside for a second? And, you know, at that moment.
Was this after or before?
After the CT scan. You know, they knew the results. They knew exactly what they were fixing to tell me, and it's going to be a blow. So they didn't want him to see us melt down, and he wasn't going to understand what the words were going to mean. No. And I knew, you know, my mom and my sister had made it by that time. Mike's sitting beside me, and I have her in my lap. And that you know, I said, sure, and only if he wants to, because I think through all of this, in my mind, I knew we had to stay force strong. No matter what the words come out of her mouth, we had to be force strong. But that little boy, as brave as he was, said, yes, Mama, I'll go. And he went. He walked out the door, and I thought, okay. And, of course, that's when we heard the words that she had a brain tumor and that we weren't going home and we weren't going to get a belly CT, that we were going upstairs for the night.
Right.
And, you know, we hugged each other. We hugged her tightly. I don't know at that moment that I knew what was coming. All I knew is, I had an answer, and it was a little bit of a reprieve because now I knew how to fix it because I couldn't fix it.
Right.
And as a mom, that is the hardest thing when something's going on and you can't fix it.
Yeah.
There's no fix, and nothing I was doing was making it better. And the stress was only mounting because she wasn't feeling good.
Yeah.
And, you know, daycare was telling me she was crying when she was waking up from her nap. And here I am thinking, I'm leaving her every day to go to work, you know. And then sitting in that room, I finally had the answer that, as bad of the answer as it was, I had a fix. I could fix it. I could figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
So we go upstairs that night, and I tell you all the front story because that kind of tells you, and the good Lord and I have had long conversations, but he was in that room. He's been in our life since the day she was born, without a doubt, because that night we had no more gotten upstairs, and she started to have a major seizure. And what was happening was that tumor had compressed all of that spinal fluid and was backing it up. And so her head was swelling inside, for lack of better words. And, you know, Dr. Klimo, which I'll give a shout out to that man because to this day I still have conversations with him, and we don't even have a patient with him. Yeah. But he was out of town. And so they got him on the phone. He was catching a flight back in, and he had already started prepping her while he was coming in. And so he had a whole team ready to go before I even blinked an eye. But, you know, the hardest part of that was I watched all these nurses run in and surround her. And, of course, you have to push back. And that's the hardest thing to do. It's like, I don't want to let her go, but, you know, you have to. Yeah. At the moment, you can't help her. The people that are there are the ones that can help her. But, you know, as I'm sitting there watching all this take place in front of me, and they're prepping her and they're making sure her vitals are okay, and they're, you know, putting medicine on board, and I hear him say, you know, the doctor's coming. And I thought, okay, the doctor's coming. I don't even know this doctor at this point. Right. And I don't care. I need somebody here with her.
Yes.
And Mike is there. Braden had gone with my mom and my sister. And so I'm on the phone, you know, getting them on the phone. Hey, this is what's happening. Y'all need probably to come back to the hospital. And so they get her ready to walk out that door or to roll out that door. And, of course, she hadn't opened her eyes. And I looked at the nurse. I said, I need one favor. And she said, tell me, what is it? What do you need? And I said, you know, she's never had a haircut. I said, I need that first piece of hair when you cut it. Because if not, I said, I'm not going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so she looked at me without even questioning. Done. She said, I'll make sure that I make the first haircut, and when we get her in there, I'll make sure I bag it. I was like, okay. And, you think, how ridiculous is that?
Oh, I get it.
But in the South, that's the thing. You keep that first lock of hair.
I still have mine.
That's what I'm saying. And people think of it's like, you really stopped the nurse? I was like, yes, because I had to have that.
Absolutely.
And I kissed her goodbye, and we prayed, and we sat, and we waited. But 8.5 hours later, when that doctor came around that corner, and he looked at me, and he said, she's okay. And he said, now just know she's going to look a little different when you walk in there, and she may not open her eyes, and she may not talk to you because you may see some things that you didn't expect. And I'm thinking, I don't care. I need to be there with her. When can I go? And, he's like, give her a minute. Just give them a minute to get her all settled in, and they'll come get you. I can remember walking in that door, and I saw her. She's laying in this bed. She's got a bandage on her head. But for once, out of 7 or 8 weeks going on with this whatever we were dealing with, because we didn't have a name for it,
right,
she was calm. She was at peace. She was laying there just as still as a mouse asleep. But, I walk over to her, I pick up her hand, and she barely opens her eyes up at us. And the one thing Mike has always asked her is like, whose girl are you? And, she would say, me. Or she would say, I'm me, princess. And she would point. And at that moment, we thought, we're good.
Right,
We'll face the rest of the demons.
Right.
But right now, we've tackled one.
Right.
And we watched a world open up that I hope no one is ever a part of. But if they are, and you're in this part of the world, there's no place like those 2 hospitals, because LeBonner, that child was a goddess. Like, she got anything she wanted, and she knew how to work those PTs when they come in to work with her. It didn't matter. She would throw a fit, and they would be like, we're done for today. I was like, no. She's not done. She's okay. She just wants you to leave her alone. No, I think we're done for today. Okay, But it was that part of it. We got more time. And yes, that time was a struggle. That time was not fun at all, but we got time. And time is something you cannot replace. So with her, that was the beginning. And from that moment forward, we entered a world that was so fast-paced. It was so unfamiliar that at times it felt like we were lost. And it was always a new day, a new way of finding, a new way to live, a new way to tackle things that I had never imagined to tackle. No. Not just with her, but with Braden. We had to make a big decision. Do we send him to live with my sister or my mom? Do all of this, or does he stay by our sides?
Right.
And even at 6, we had a sit-down conversation with him. We said, buddy, this is what's going on. We're not going home anytime soon.
Right. But
you've got to make a decision. If you're going to stay with us, you may have to repeat the 2nd grade when you go back. You may have to repeat the 3rd grade. I don't know what our life's going to look at, and I don't know the time frame. And to this day, that little boy still amazes me, because although he's a young man now, he's not
way
a boy.
Taller than me.
Yeah,
he's taller than you.
Yeah. He said, Mom, I don't care. I just want to be with her. I was like, then done. We don't care what else happens.
Right.
The world can come get us. It's whatever.
Absolutely.
But we're 4 strong. We'll stay 4 strong. Of course, as Anna Kate's fashion, she threw us curveballs all along the way, and that's okay. She kept us on our toes. But the place that we will always call home, and I say that as I'm sitting here in this dining room, this is home. But for her, this was never home.
Right.
She loved coming here, but St. Jude was the home she knew.
Right.
And when we'd hit the road going north, she would want to know when we were going back to that elephant house. And it was like, sister, we'll go back soon. No, today. No, not today. Like, give us a couple days.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a couple days. And it wasn't her home. And it was very hard to understand that with her. But looking back, she didn't know anything beyond those walls. She
Right.
knew safety. She knew those nurses, those staff. She knew the families that we became so close to.
Right.
And they were like her.
Right.
And to be honest, when we left those walls, Mike would probably tell you the same thing. It was totally outside our comfort zone. We'd come home and you're on eggshells the whole time you're home, because nothing was safe anymore.
No.
You're in a world of germs. You're in a world of bacteria. You're in a world of, well, what if she has a fever? We're 2 hours away. What if? What if? Yeah. And we became more calm with her. We started to learn more things than I ever in my entire life thought I ever wanted to know. Medical wise, we were comfortable bringing her home and switching out her eclipses on her line, and, flushing her and doing those things.
Yeah.
Those are things I would have never thought. I didn't want to be a medical professional.
No.
I had no interest in medical.
Nope.
But we became nurses. We
You'll
became
do anything for your kids.
And that St. Jude walls, I will tell you, that's the first thing they'll tell you. You have to be a parent to your kid.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn how to take care of her. We're here, but you can't live here all the time. So you have
Right.
to be knowledgeable, and they don't give you a chance. They make you learn.
Yeah.
You know, you have a test. A couple days into it, you have a test. It's like, they're going to come show you, this is what you're going to do. Tomorrow we're going to come in and you're actually going to give her her injection. And Mike's
Wow.
like, come again? And I'm like, we're rock, paper, scissors. Who's giving this to her? Because
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Oof.
And that gentleman, he manned up because he was like, okay, I'll do it. And I said, I can't cause her pain. I cannot cause her pain. And, you know, thinking back, that was a weakness. But at the same time, I couldn't be the one that hurt her. I couldn't be the one that jabbed her in her leg and made those boo-boos come back.
Yeah.
But she learned so much. At a 1.5 years old, that child taught me more than I've learned in my 43 some odd years.
Yeah.
And, you know, to the families and the moms out there, every day is a struggle, but every day is a new day. And each one of those days is a blessing.
Right.
Some days you put your head on your pillow and you think, I cannot do it tomorrow.
Right.
Like, please don't come tomorrow. Just stay dark for a little while longer.
Yeah.
But in the end, every day brings something new, whether it's a struggle, whether it's a positive, a negative, it's still something new and it's a memory. But meeting you and, you know, getting to share her story through all of that at St. Jude, the one thing I guess we're so thankful for, we live in this super small town.
Yes.
Mike was a police officer, me being a teacher, all of a sudden the walls became alive with people asking what could they do to help? How could
Yeah.
they help? People we will never get to think or meet,
Yeah.
but they didn't have anything else to do but to help, and they wanted to give or to do something for
Right.
us. And we stood on our feet. You know, I didn't work. Mike didn't work for almost 11 months. When we did get to work, we'd come home, we'd try for a day or two, but then inevitably we'd have to go right back.
Absolutely.
But this town surrounded us with as much love and kindness as anybody could ever hope for. And the families that we met along her journey, there were so many that were from giant cities, you know, they're just a mailbox on the street. They didn't even know their neighbors.
Right.
And so they left everything they knew to be safe and to be sound to make sure they were by their child's side.
Right.
You know, parents would separate as far as mom would go with child and dad would try to stay home and hold down the ground. But the problem is dad's not used to that. So there was a whole lot of stresses there. And mom was under stress here being with the child and trying to figure out how to do this medically by herself.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare. And you saw the pain in those people's eyes. And, you know, you'd sit in the lobby and you talk to them. And it was like you and I having this conversation. I didn't
Yeah.
know them. It didn't
Right.
matter. But it was a venting session because
Absolutely.
it felt good to figure out how to tell somebody what you were going through because you were isolated.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, you know, when we're going through this journey with her, that's the one thing we never had a want or a wish that somebody didn't answer somewhere. That child had more Play-Doh than I will ever know what to do with because magically it would show up in the mailbox once a week. You know, it's just a plethora of Play-Doh. Because, you know, they found out in a post that I had made that you have to throw it away within 24 hours. So you can't use it more than one day. You know, most of us, we have
I
Play-Doh
didn't
for
even know that.
6 or 7
Yeah,
months,
what?
you know, until it becomes crusty and you can't,
Yeah,
you know, you just throw it
exactly.
away. No, in those walls, 24 hours and it's done. Throw it
Okay.
away. And so, you know, we were going through Play-Doh like mad because when you're in a little 10 by 10 hospital room, there's not much to do, you
Yeah.
know? And so, you know, we would make boxes of, you know, make them a stove or, you know,
Yeah.
she would cook with the Play-Doh. She would pretend they're carrots and peas, whatever we could to pass the hours.
Right.
Because you're talking 7 or 8 inpatient days, you know, and that was a low end. Sometimes you were 10 or 15 days inpatient before you got to go out. And again, I go back to my oldest son. I've never seen a child be so flexible and grow up so fast because he didn't get a choice.
He's
and
going to be the best dad ever one
that's
day.
what I tell him. Yes, I said, you've seen so much in your small time. You know, most will never comprehend what you have gone
No.
through. But I said, in that same sense, you have more knowledge and you're ahead of everybody else with things that are going to happen because you've learned how to handle stress.
Yeah.
You've learned how to handle rejection to some degree because there were so many days that she was all we could focus on. And
Yeah.
he did perfect. He would sit in the on the couch or in the chair and he'd play with his toys,
Yeah.
never asking a question, never even acknowledging that he was even there. And, you know, that's one of the things I have so much guilt over because we shortened a year of his life.
Yeah.
You know, he had to give up a year, but we never left him. He was always by our side and he was always by her side. And I think for her, had that not occurred, she would have never been as cheerful and as smiley as she was because her family dynamics didn't change.
Right.
just her home. That's
Yeah.
all that changed. And to her, that didn't matter one iota. And that's what I look at now too when I think about, do I really need that? I don't, because it's just a thing. It doesn't give me anything. It's just going to sit. And in her world, those were useless.
Right.
What was important was living and breathing people that were sitting beside her, that if she needed something, she just had to look over and say, hey, I blah.
Yeah.
It's a world that I cannot describe to anybody. It's a world it's very slow paced, but in the same time, it's very fast because time stopped while we were there.
Yeah.
And we watched the outside world go on like nothing was wrong. And we were stuck in this bubble of watching this clock, never knowing what tomorrow would bring.
Right.
And so, family after family after family, we watched some leave as a family and, together. Some didn't leave as a family together. Some watched their child, pass on, and they left without them. And so, it was fear. There was fear, but you push that so far down in your belly, and you try not to focus on that. You try to focus on everything that was in that room at that moment, because that was alive,
Right.
and that was life. But those families that had left everything, those moms, the stress that they were under on a daily basis was astronomical. Because if you think, in a hospital, you've got nurses and doctors and all of those people, but in the end, you're still just the mom. And if you need to go to the bathroom, well, who's going to watch the child? If you need to go take a shower, who's going to watch the child?
I know.
And, child life was fantastic. But like with Anna Kate, she would have never stayed with one of those people. Like if I would have been like, sister, I need to walk out just for, oh no, the world would have crumbled and we would have had her stuck to my hip. And that was fine. But that's kind of where her story and her legacy lives, because Mike and I acknowledged that, and how fortunate we were that we didn't have those stresses. Those were
Right.
not here. Braden's teacher's been over backwards to make sure his work was in my hands. And let me tell you, I
Wow.
would never be a homeschool mom, because that was my turning point in life. I was like, this is not for me. I teach every day.
I know.
But I can't
I was
stay
gonna say,
home
you're a
with my
teacher.
own child and teach one tiny human, because
Everything.
I think it was the stress of everything we were under, his stress, and then trying to put schoolwork on top of him. It was a nightmare. But we did it. We survived, and
Yeah.
he survived, and we passed on to the third grade, and we kept going. But, it's those pieces of it with those single families. And that was the first big promise, to ourselves at that point, that when we got through with this, whatever the outcome was, that we would try to find a way to make sure that the families that were in those walls that didn't have the social support or the community support would be covered in some way.
Definitely.
And we didn't even know the impact at that moment of what
No.
that looked like or what that was going to be. But we knew that we were going to do it one way or the other. I didn't know either. I just knew it was on my short plan.
Right.
But, her story is one, because daily, through all the things that she went through, here I am over stressing about, my job. I don't have am I going to keep my job? How are we going to pay our bills? Because,
Yeah.
I only went so long with mine, and the school system is no fault. I mean, they can't. If they did that, every employee, they wouldn't have any funds to pay anybody. They explained to me, no, your job is safe. The only thing we can't promise you is a paycheck.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? We'll figure it out. It's fine. Worst case scenario, we sell everything we own.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation with Braden. We may move, bud. We may move to Memphis.
Yeah.
So we're here close. And she has the treatment she needs. Dad can find work here. We, and this becomes our hub. We'd had those conversations.
Yeah.
It never came to light, but it was that moment of nothing we left really matters. Nothing at all. The only thing that matters is what's in this room, and how do we keep this as one unit without completely unbalancing everybody.
Yeah.
And, here she is over here smiling and laughing and enjoying herself. She's perfectly content.
Right.
She's nothing. If you had ever looked at her and you didn't know with the lack of hair and
Right.
you would have never thought that child was sick, And I watched her daily. I'm thinking, I'm worried about these small things.
Yeah.
But the fact is, this child has learned to walk again. She's learned to crawl again, because all of those things were lost after the surgery. She forgot them all. And they told us that was probably a high probability. And so we watched her learn to sit up, a couple weeks after surgery, because that
Right.
was not a possibility. And, she it wasn't pleasant. And then we watched her learn to crawl, and she crawled for a long time. But,
Wow.
thinking, hey, sis, go for it. You
Yeah.
figured this out, go.
Yeah.
And then slowly watched her take that first step again. And it was in Target House with her big brother, and she just let go and she walked. And it was like a whole nother, I said, told Mike, I said, we rushed through all these things initially.
Yeah.
You took a picture, you took a video,
Right.
but we didn't really mentally absorb it.
Right.
And I said, at that moment, there was nothing stopping us from watching her take that first step again. You know, we're clapping, we're cheering, and it's like, okay, good Lord, I hear you. I hear you all day, because you're telling me that everything that I'm worrying about is not important. You've got that part. I just need to worry about what I can fix. And this is what I can fix. It's right here in front of me. But through the journey with her, all the way through Target House, and Target House, I keep mentioning it, and most probably don't even have a clue.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. There's different stages of housing at St. Jude. You have Ronald McDonald, which most everybody knows Ronald McDonald. Yes. And we stayed there for a short time. Target House is just miniature apartments. Mm-hmm. And for us to come out of like what is equivalent to a hotel room for 4 or 5 months was huge, because we had been on top of each other. Everybody was you could just feel the intensity of, okay, we need space. Yeah. You know, everybody needs a little bit more room to move. And so Target House is that. It's 96 apartments for your children that are in long-term care. Right. And so once we got the word that we were moving, it was like, oh, okay, we can do this. And you know, we walk in, and this is the crazy thing. You know, we're surveying what we have. You know, there's 2 small bedrooms. There's kitchen, living room, kind of a mix, super small, but it was perfect. Yeah. And then you look in the pantry, and there's 4 cups, there's 4 plates, there's 4 spoons, 4 forks, 1 pan, 1 skillet. I'm like, how do you do this? Yeah. How do you cook with this? How, you know, because I'm thinking, you know, here in most houses you have 8 or 9 plates. You know, you have an unlimited amount of silverware. But you know what? It was perfect. Yeah. Nothing did I ever lack for anything. I didn't. Right. I didn't. And so looking back at that, it's like, okay, we're collectors of things. That's all we are. We just assume we have to have a whole bunch of stuff to make us happy. And in that little tiny apartment, it was the best time ever. Yeah. Everybody was in earshot of each other. So like here, we're in different rooms. You know, you may or may not know what somebody else is doing. There, you knew what each other was doing, because you could hear or you could see a leg or something. You at least had a wall. But for her, I think that was what made her so happy. She still had us all in a little confined space. Because when we came home, the few times that we did, everybody went to their own little place that they were comfortable with. And she didn't like it. She hated it, because she couldn't have everybody right there with her when she wanted something, or just to see them. And so I look back and I think, you know, that was it. That's why home was Target House. Right. It's because she felt safe, but she also felt like she had everybody there around her. And we were able to watch and learn and listen and make memories. Yes. Where here we didn't. We made individual memories. And they were, you know, here, there, and everywhere. Within those walls, it's, and even today, when we go back, it's like going home. I get to go home for a short time. And the minute you walk through those gates, it's just like you feel this energy come through you. And it's the craziest thing. But every mom and dad, I don't really talk to the dads as much, but the moms that I have come in contact with, it's the same thing for them. It's going home. And that's the craziest thing, because you think of all the sadness, of all the sickness, of all the things you went to. None of that was ever displayed in those walls. I know. When I walk in there, I thought I was going to feel, you know, just like the worst feeling ever. But I was like, oh, wow. Everybody's so nice, and just making them feel just so special and at home. Yeah. Well, there's smiles. And you think, you're not going to see smiles. You're going to see crying. I know. And it's not one bit of that, because they've learned how to appreciate what they have and appreciate that moment of being semi-feeling okay. Mm-hmm. And it taught me a lot. It really did. It taught me, okay, this is every day that I get up, if I let the burdens of life weigh me down, the things that I can't control, the things I cannot fix, then those are superficial. Those are things that should have no control over me, because nothing I do will change the outcome of that. And with her, it was, okay, what can we do as a family together? What can we eat a meal together? You know, can we watch TV that night? And as crazy as that sounds, most families don't watch TV as a unit anymore. You know, everybody's in their own rooms. Their own show. Used to, it was, everybody was around, you know, the couch, and you were sitting. But we did that, and it was like, okay, this is it. And it just like time stopped. Yeah. But, you know, her story is not one of happiness in the end. And we watched, you know, we waited, we hoped. But towards the end of treatment, her cancer had already spread throughout her spine. And so they told us our odds were heavily stacked against us the day one that we started with them. And that was the other thing. They never hesitated, you know, to tell you, hey, this is what we're facing. We're not going to give you false hope. Yeah. It's a huge battle. Right. And it's a battle. We're in it with you to win it, but it's a battle. And so make sure you appreciate everything, because I can't tell you tomorrow's coming. Right. The only thing I can tell you is that we're going to try to give her tomorrow. Yeah. And you know, as a parent and even as my mom, you know, she still doesn't understand that. She's like, but why? But Mom, they're real. They're real with you because they know the outcomes.
You have to be. And you have to hear that, because if you have false hope and then you hear the bad news, I can't imagine that pain on top of that, you know.
Right. Well, and you've lost time. And time is not your friend within those walls. Every day is a new day, but every day may not come. That may be the last day.
Yeah.
And so, as you know, at this point, we're probably midsummer. We're getting ready for that second birthday. And that's what I told her all along. I was like, sister, we've got a birthday. We have to get this birthday. And so, you know, she's excited. She's ready. We get to come home for her birthday. Everything is magical with that child, because we're listening to stories of families, you know, they're in the ICU with their children. They're not going home, and these reactions are happening from the chemo. This baby never had any of those. You know,
Wow.
She was just like, I got this. What are you talking about?
Chemo.
Yeah, it's fine. My hair, it's gone.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's the other thing. I guess I skipped that part. Before she got sick, her hair was everything to her. Like at night, we had to leave piggies up because she rolled those piggies in her hands. That was hers. And that's how she went to sleep. Or she played with mine, but usually it was always her piggies. So when she come out of surgery, you know, my first thought was, oh no, but what happens? What? And they had put one piggy up for her on the other side. Of course, the one side is shaved, you know, where they've done the surgery, but the one piggy is still up. So I was like, yes, we're good. You know, and instantly that hand goes up. Yes, that's her blankie.
Right.
And so throughout the first sets of chemo, of course, they told us she'll lose her hair. You know, it's going to go in stages. Most choose to shave it ahead of time so you don't deal with all of that. And we watched it fall little by little. And this is a funny story. But the PT, the last day we were at PT, I guess before her birthday, we were sitting there and she's working, and the wind kind of blows a little bit in the room. Well, that pigtail lifts completely up like a toupee and sits back down. And of course the PT, she's stressed. She's like, oh my gosh, because she knows the story with the pigtails and she knows how she is. So she's pushing it back down and trying to hold on to it, like, you know, waiting. And it's holding by like a hair. It's not even, it's just there. It's, you know, we're like, don't touch it.
Like
you
a
know,
toupee.
everybody is stopped, dead silence. Like, oh gosh, if she pulls that off, we're all in trouble. And, you know, I'm silenced. Mike is silent. Braden is even quiet, like, Mom. But we get back we're at Ronald McDonald at that point. We get back to the room that night, and this is her. She reaches up, she grabs a hold, and she pulls it off. And she just hands it, and she said, I'm all done. Oh. And it was like,
I'm all done.
You know, everybody's holding their breath because it's like, whoa.
She's so wise, and she's not even, or she wasn't even two yet.
But, you know, then her hair's done. She doesn't care. She doesn't care. And she hands me that, and we still have it. It's the pigtail. And it's perfectly like a toupee with a pigtail. That's exactly
so cute.
what it looks like. Cute. It's the craziest thing. But, you know, okay, here we go. You know, she doesn't care. She has no care in the world that her hair is going, and it's gone. And she's fine with that because she's annoyed with it at this point because it just keeps coming out. Yeah. And it's long enough that it's bothersome. Yeah. So that pigtail comes out, you know, the night of. It's like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? You know, is she going to go to bed? She's fine.
She just went right to bed.
She was fine. And it was like, we worried over all of this for absolutely nothing.
All that stress and anxiety.
For weeks
for
of watching that little toupee blow, you know, because you'd go out in the wind and you'd hold it real tight. You're like,
yeah, okay. Right.
Because, you know, it's those things, and it's those bits and pieces of memories, and even Braden can tell you those, you know, because that room was silence that day because it was just like, what happens if she pulls that off? Yeah. Are we in trouble, or are we going to lose it? Because we can't put it back on. You know, it's just gone.
Tape or something, but she wouldn't like that.
Sticky, no. But, you know, it starts that journey with her because she goes through this like a champ. You know, she just rolls with it, and she learns to live out of a hospital bed. She learns that just as much fun can be played there as it would be on the floor. And we figure out how to do things. You know, we don't, as this mom, I was super afraid to stick her in playrooms because, you know, anywhere in the world is germs. That's playrooms are germs. It's like the playgrounds, they're germs. Of course, they assure me it's fine. Just wash your hands. No, we're good. We just bypass them really fast and we distract her and we keep moving. And so, you know, she's begging for something. Of course, they'll bring her toys, and we have tons of toys by this point. Yeah. But it's like, what do we do? And so this tells you the staff. One afternoon, she said, Mommy, I want to cook. I was like, what do you mean you want to cook? I want my stove. I was like, we don't have a stove, sister. She's like, no, I want a stove. So I called, you know, Child Life. Do y'all have like a little stove you could bring her? No, ma'am, we don't have any of that. Okay. So the cleaning staff was in the room, and she's like, what does she want? And I said, a stove. She said, give me a minute. She's like, I think I know of something. And I was like, oh, okay. So she comes back with a paper box. No joke. And she's like, you're an art teacher. You'll figure this out. And so I was like, okay, we can make a stove. And so she's like, just hold on. You just make me a list of what else you need and I'll go find it. And, I'm thinking, what do I need?
Yeah.
So finally I realized, okay, because she wants knobs. She wants to be able to turn the knobs. And I was like, we don't have knobs, sister. I was like, wait, we have bottle caps. Okay. And so I said, I'm going to need like a hole in this bottle cap. So this poor janitorial lady leaves and she comes back with 6 bottle caps with holes all in them. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to attach them. And she's like, I got an idea. We spent an afternoon putting this box together for her.
Wow.
But she was the happiest kid ever. Happy out of a cardboard box. That's what it was. But it's that, most hospitals, the staff has to be in it for the right reasons for it to be that compassionate. And I don't know that you'll meet a single person within those walls that's not in it for the love of it, not for the money of it.
Right.
But they're literally in it for the families and to take care of those kids. And Anna Catherine felt every bit of that. And so did Braden. He was never left out.
Right.
The happy carts, as they called them, would come around just to brighten their day. And usually it was a little after lunch when most kids are probably feeling their worst. And magically that cart would show up. And, they would, just a little pick-me-up of here. And at first, Braden, he didn't know that he could have anything. And I didn't know that he could have anything. I assumed it was for the kids. And finally they were like, no, if he wants something, it's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. So siblings...
They're going through this too.
Yeah, and that's what they said. He is just as important in this as she is. And so, yes, he's able. You let him pick out whatever he wants. And, of course, we're trying to keep him, within reason. Don't pick out the biggest thing. Just pick out something little to play with. You just pick out something little. And he usually does. He picks out something super small. But that walls and that experience is, I can never put words to it because there are no words. There's absolutely no words. It's a family that I will never leave. It's a family I never wanted to join, but it's a family that I'll never leave because as our journey is nearing an end with her, we're seeing that the tumors have decreased in size, but they've not disappeared. And so come December, we meet with our oncology team and, they're like, hey, there's not much else right now. What we need to do is let's wait. Let's watch her for a couple months and we'll rescan her late January. Okay. So, we think we're going home. We're going to be normal. And so I bet you we had been home 2 weeks, back to work, back to everything. We thought we're on
2 weeks is a long time.
It is
after
2
all
weeks.
that.
Yes. I'm at work. Mike is staying home with her in the daytime. And then I'm trying to teach and try to get back into the swing of it because I haven't even been around the kids in that classroom. Yeah. They don't know me. I don't know them. Yeah. But I miss that part. And that's what I tell them. And they don't understand that. It's like, guys, you are my kids. Right. For some reason, the good Lord gave me the ability to be a teacher. Yeah. For that, it's because I'm supposed to be here with you. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. You don't know why. We don't have to know why. I just know this is where I feel like I need to be. Right. But Mike calls. I was in the middle of class. It was close to the end of the day. And he said, Jen, something's up. She's not staring at me and she's not talking to me. And I'm like, okay, I'm on my way. Yeah. And my amazing school, they didn't even blink an eye. Right. They were like, go. We'll figure it out. Go. Why are you standing here? Go. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So I leave and, I get home and I could tell something is not right. She's just kind of catatonic. She's awake, but she's not Anna Kate. And so we pack her up and we put her in the car and we take her down the road to the ER. And, they take one look at her and all doctors are different, but they're this and it's this. Well, it could be this. It's like, no, we need to talk to St. Jude. Yeah. Can you please call St. Jude? And so they get them on the phone. Of course, St. Jude instance is like, don't touch her. We'll get an ambulance en route. And of course they're like, we'll send out, we can send her by ambulance. And they're like, no. Don't touch her. We'll have an ambulance en route. Just monitor her vitals. And what was determined, she was having a seizure is what it was. And so it was the telltale sign of what was to come. We take that nice little ambulance ride back to Memphis, Tennessee. And we're in the room with her and Dr. Robinson, which to this day we love. And I still talk to him. Before we had I made a long conversation with that man. I said, I need you to tell me that we're not it's a 50-50 odds. I get it. But we're not in any huge predicament with that being something genetic, Really? Because I'm thinking, I don't want to pass it on. If it's something, and of course he's like, Jen, we don't know what it is. Okay. There's no
answer.
He said, that. Most siblings don't. He said, it doesn't usually run in families. Okay. He said, it's a hit or miss thing. And I'm thinking, okay, that doesn't answer my question. And it doesn't ease my mind, but okay. And he's still, to this day, he'll check in with us, just to say hi and think about how many patients have come after her. But we meet with him. They take her in for a CT that night. And of course, when he comes in, they're real. They don't hide the truth. They don't hide their feelings. He's in tears. And he said, the worst is happening. He said what we thought was just an enlargement of her central ventricular areas is actually the cancer. It just figured out how to tunnel to hide from us. And I said, unfortunately, you know, it's coming back, and it's coming back aggressively. And so we look at him like, okay, what do we do? And he said, you go home and enjoy her. And at that moment, I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. You know, that's not the answer. And this is the crazy thing, because my mom, you know, she's sitting there and she's like, no, Jen, we need to stay and fight. And I look at Mike and I look at her and I think back through all this thing, you know, all the things she's been through. The one thing we promised her when she was all done is we go see Doc McStuffin's house.
Yep. That's what
I
you're
told her,
thinking.
we were going to go see Doc's house. And, you know, she doesn't know that it's not a true house somewhere, but we were going to go. And I looked at her and I said, nope.
Oh my goodness.
We have a trip to go. I said, we have to go. We're going to go see Doc now. And of course she lit up. We're going to go see Doc. Yes, we're going to go see Doc.
Man.
And I looked at Dr. Robinson. I said, is that possible? He said, go. He said, we'll pack medicines. You go. I thought, okay. I looked at my husband and I said, I don't know how we're going. I don't have a clue.
Yep.
I don't have to know a clue. But we're going to go home tonight. And in the morning, we're going to start making phone calls. And this is another miracle of life. You know, as I'm talking to my sister and she's in the room with us and everybody's in tears, and my brother-in-law has brought this giant unicorn up to the room that it's like been in the gift shop for ages on the top shelf. It's like the size of the bed. He didn't care. He just wanted her to have something, you know, and she's like laying there beside it. And you know, we're all in tears and she's trying to figure out what it is because we're trying to hide that emotion from her.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's over there. We're going to Doc's house. Let's go. You know, she's trying to put her shoes on. She's ready.
She's right then and
Let's
there.
pack our stuff. Let's go. And so, you know, it's like, okay, are we making the right decision? I don't know. But my gut tells me I'm making the right decision. Let's go. And Dr. Robertson does, as he promises. He comes back with a whole handful of things, and he's like, get them filled. This is what you need. Here's my number. This is the quality care team that's going to be in contact with you to follow you through to make sure you don't need anything while you're there.
Wow.
And at that point, we had been involved with Make-A-Wish, but we hadn't even really started the journey because we weren't through with treatment. And so we didn't want to do anything till she was well. And so we knew that was not a possibility. There was no way to get that off the ground. So Mike and I looked at each other and it was like, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. You know, it doesn't matter how much money we spend. It doesn't matter where the money comes from. We're going to take that child and go see Doc's house. And little Anna Catherine in her true style, you know, she set up, she put on them pink tennis shoes and she was ready to roll out. She said, let's go. And sure enough, by Monday morning, some magical Disney trip planner from somewhere reaches out to us. I still to this day, I don't know how all this works and I still don't know how all this came about, but she called and she said, I hear you needing a plane and some tickets and an agenda. And I said, yes. And she said, well, guess what? I have you a plane, I have you some tickets, and I have you an agenda. And she said, what I need to know is what she wants to do when she gets there.
Wow.
So I still don't know who this person is. I have no clue, no idea. And through phone calls of people and other people and the networking, it just 24 hours. You know, her wishes are coming true. The things that I never thought I needed to be okay are coming true. And so Monday morning, we're on a plane. You know, we're heading to Florida. She's still sleepy. She's sleeping a lot of the time. But when she is awake, she's wide awake. And she's happy. She's not sick. You know, it's our little girl for a little while. And the good thing is while she's sleeping, we have time to focus with brother.
Right.
And we have conversations with him. Because at 6, you don't know how much he truly understands about what's fixing to happen. And that goodbyes are coming. And goodbyes are hard. But I've watched this little boy say goodbye several times. And he's stronger than I probably would have ever been at 6 and 7 years of age.
Absolutely.
We get to Disney, you know, we get to the Animal Kingdom Lodge because, you know, when we're asking her, where do you want to stay? She wants to see the animals. I was like, okay, done. We'll stay. You know, giraffes are roaming outside.
Animals.
She's perfect. We do the Disney, I guess that was the first day. We see the castle because I wanted to make sure. But my whole thing is we still have to see Doc. Doc is it. I don't care if we see anything else. Doc has to be seen. And the morning we were supposed to do the dine and play, we oversleep. The alarm clocks, we slept through them. We're just exhausted. Everybody's exhausted. And I wake up in a panic. I still to this day remember every bit and piece of that. You know, I'm yelling and everybody's got to get up. We've got to go. Everybody's got to get dressed, you know, and it's a rush. We get there. Of course, the doors are closed. And I go up to, I'll never forget this poor lady. And we're still friends with her.
Oh.
She's at the reception desk and I just give my story. I'm like, and I'm in tears and just boohooing. And I'm like pointing to Anna Kate. I'm like, we have to get in there. Yeah. I don't know what else to tell you, but you have to let us in.
Yeah.
And she said, well, you hold on just 1 minute. And I was like, no, okay, we don't have minutes, but okay, let's go. Because it's like halfway over.
Right.
And so she comes back and the side door opens and she's like, you guys follow us. And I was like, okay, I thought we're in trouble. Like
We're in trouble.
we've done caused a scene
You're
in
getting
the
kicked out.
middle of this. Yes. And we're in trouble. We've done something bad. But she, in the process of this, she recognized us because somebody had put something out on the cast members' pages that we were there on our own dime. And this was the scenario that was happening. And that she was terminal and this was her favorite thing to do. And so, you think all the other would get me, but this gets me the worst.
I know.
She comes around the corner and she said, we've got you a table. Come on. And we sit down and all the characters are walking around. And then she gets a peek of Doc, out the corner of her eye. And then there's Sophia and there's all the other ones.
Yeah.
But she just smiles from ear to ear. And, we do the whole play and dine. The whole crowd stops and they make her come over to where all the characters are. And nobody else can touch them. Nobody else gets out of their seats. And she gets all the time she wants with each and every one of them. Well, Doc tells her or nods. And the little lady that's with her said, we'll see her just a little bit. And I was like, oh, okay. Still not thinking I'm fine. At this point, we got to see Doc. Yeah. Next stop is the Playhouse to go see the Playhouse. And so all the cast is just swamped over her. They're touching her. They're taking pictures with her. She's not 100% impressed with all of that. She's just like, yeah, okay.
Where's Doc?
These are big, and they
are really big,
scary, and their heads are large, and she's not used to that. But
yeah.
It didn't matter. She's cooperative.
Right.
Well, we get through with breakfast, and the same lady comes back to me, and she said, Miss Jen, she's like, if you'll wait just a minute, she's like, if you'll go around, if you guys can go on out and go around the corner, she said, some of the staff have left and gotten stuff for Anna Kate that they want to give her. And she said, if you'll just give us a minute. Well, we go out, we're standing there, we're just kind of waiting. All of a sudden, here comes Doc around the corner. And that's the picture that most have seen when her hands go up over her face. And it was like, the world is okay. We're done. We have gotten that capturing moment of her. She met her hero.
Yeah, she did.
And that was her hero. And, Doc walks around that corner and gives her shirt. And she's like, well, come on, let's go to the clinic. In Anna Kate fashion, she's smiling. You would have thought she would have hung the moon 12 times over. There's this giant line outside the Playhouse, waiting to get a meet and greet with Doc. And I can remember the two cast members telling them, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be a brief pause. Please remain in line and we'll resume shortly, because they're taking Anna Kate right up to the Doc's Playhouse, and they're letting her touch anything she wants to touch. The Doc is sitting down on the ground with her, and that's her moment.
Yeah.
Everything we had promised her in that moment had come true.
Yeah.
She was good. She had met her hero. She was fine. And I tell Mike all the time, I said, I don't understand how things work out. And I certainly don't know how all that worked out. But there's a greater purpose in life. And we don't always have to know what that is or understand it. But in her case, she got everything we needed. And this is horrible because we needed those things to be okay. And we needed those to be calm in our souls when we had to say goodbye to her. So we leave, we do Disney a couple more days. And we had already made the choice that on the way home, no matter what, we were going to drive. And we were going to drive and stop at every little nook and cranny that she saw. Whether she wanted to look at a bird, whether she wanted to look at a tree, it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter how long it took us to get home. This was hers. That was her time and us together. And an amazing couple. They offered their condo on the beach for as many nights as we wanted it. Of course, this is in March. So, there's just the snowbirds there. We're the youngest of everybody on that section. Yes. But, they were like, go, stay. As many nights as she wants to stay. And for Anna Catherine, that was the thing. She loved the beach. She had touched it a couple times in her life, and she loved the beach. And I was like, that's perfect. That's perfect. And so the day we got there, we slept that night. We got up the next morning, and it was a little bit of a rough morning. She was, you could tell she didn't feel 100%, and her seizures were coming a little quicker. And so we made a thing, let's go to the beach. Let's eat. She ate an amazing breakfast. She was ready to go to the beach. And even that morning, she told me she did not want a diaper on. She was going to be a big girl. Okay. I said, okay, let's go, big girl. Yeah. Let's move. And I thought, okay. Because, we had swim diapers. We were ready.
Yeah.
She didn't want a swim diaper. She's like, I'm a big girl. Okay. Oh. Let's go, big girl. Let's go touch some sand. Yeah. And, we go down, we're on the beach, and we'll probably get a good 2 hours out of her. And
That's a long time on the beach.
It is. And it's chilly in March.
I was going to say, was it cold?
It's not exactly warm. But Braden's having an amazing time.
Oh, yeah.
He's enjoying himself. She's enjoying herself. She's chewing on seashells. It's fine.
Yeah.
She walks up, and I could tell we'd had a pretty good seizure. And hers were focal seizures, so she would just stare off in space. But then you could tell when they relaxed because she was drained. And she would come to me, and she came to me. And she said, Mommy, I'm tired. Okay. So we packed up, and we started back upstairs. We were supposed to have a photography session that afternoon. And about midway through our nap, I noticed that it was still like seizure after seizure. I thought, okay. So I didn't figure we were going to go back down. So I was on the phone with the photographer, explaining how grateful we were that they were driving an hour to meet us, but that it probably was not going to happen. She wasn't feeling it, and I didn't want to waste their time to come if they hadn't gotten here. And in the process of that conversation, they're telling me, well, actually, we're already here, and that's okay. We'll just kind of hang out. And Anna Kate sat straight up on that couch, and she said, I go, and I was like, okay, let's go. We got dressed. We went downstairs, and she took some amazing pictures with her brother.
My favorite.
Yes. And in the midst of that, right before we got done, that couple that was photographers said, can we pray with you and it was at the end of the boardwalk. I said, we would happily take any prayer. And we prayed, and by the time we got back upstairs, she had a major seizure. And so we watched her respiration start to slow a little, and we got concerned, and, we were like, what do we do? Because we knew that seizures did that to her, but we didn't know, what to do. So we called the 911, and I'm talking to this lady on the phone, and she's like, no, ma'am, we're going to have the emergency services en route. An ambulance is coming. We'll be there shortly. And I'm thinking, okay, this is not where I want to be with her.
You were in the condo?
We're in the condo. And so the ambulance comes, they take her because I'm on the phone with her quality care team, which is like hospice for a better word. And, the nurse is talking to me, and we've become friends at this point. Like, she knows my ins and outs. I know hers. And, she's telling me, make sure you tell the paramedics this, make sure you tell them this. And she's just walking me through what to watch for at this moment. Of course, paramedics get there, and they try to tell you everything under the sun, and because they don't know the story. And then I'm like, stop. We just need to get to the ER, please. Just put us on the gurney. Let's go. We get to the ER, and there again, you meet these people that want to make an instant decision. It's her shunt. Her shunt's malfunctioning. No, sir, it's not her shunt. I need you to call Dr. Robinson at St. Jude and get him on the phone. And, no, well, let's check that. No, I need you. And I said, you know what? Hold on a minute. And, of course, I have not let go of the quality care nurse. She is literally still on the phone an hour later. Like, she's at home, but she's on the phone with me. I said, I have my nurse on the phone. I said, would you just please listen to her for a second?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, okay, sure. And so I put him on the phone together, and we never saw him again. So the next thing we knew is the nurse was coming in to hand me a phone, and she said, Dr. Robinson's on the phone for you. Oh. And I said, okay. And he's like, Jen, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. And he said, well, what do you want me to do? And I said, all she says is, I'm home. And for me, I took it at that moment that she wanted to go home. I said, she wants to come home. And he said, she's not in treatment. She's not, we're on hospice. And she wants to go home. And he said, okay, give me just about 5 minutes. I'll be right back. Don't hang up. And I was like, okay. I'm looking at her. She's not waking up. She's sound asleep. And she's mumbling some words. The only time we got a response really out of her in that hospital, she tried to reach up and wipe away a tear. Because we've always tried not to cry with her. Yeah. It's like not to show that side of the emotion, to scare her.
Yeah.
And that's when she uttered, she said, I home. And she put her arm back down, and I never saw those brown eyes. And Dr. Robinson come back on the phone, and he said, well, Jen, I've got some good news and bad news. He said, evidently, I can't land a helicopter in a resort area. He said, but I'm going to have an airplane on a tarmac about 5 minutes from your location in about 30 minutes. He said, so I don't know if you can fly with her yet or not. I don't know that answer. Of course, I'm panicking at that point. I'm like, oh no, then maybe we drive her home. I don't know. And Mike and Braden, I'm thinking, how are they getting home? How's this working? Yeah. I thought, it'll work out. It's fine. So he's on the phone with me, and he doesn't hang up until the pilots have landed. And he said, Jen, I just found out you're riding with her, so be ready. Mike and Braden can't ride, but they can drive.
Okay.
Well, now Mike and Braden probably went 100 miles an hour
I was
coming
gonna
home.
say, that's like 7 hours or something.
We were in the Emerald Coast. I couldn't tell you some ER on the Emerald Coast. But yes, 7 hours, give or take. I think they actually beat us almost there. We had just gotten into St. Jude when they pulled in to the parking lot. Like my sister's telling me Mike and Braden are here. They're here.
He was doing the cop driving.
I think pure adrenaline. There was no, nothing. And I think he said he only got pulled over once. And, he told his story, and the officer told him, follow me and I'll get you to the thing, and Godspeed.
He would have done the same thing. So
all day long.
Yeah.
So, we get back to that hospital and we're sitting there with Anna Kate. And the one thing I didn't mention, while we're sitting in that ER on the Emerald Coast, Dr. Robinson, he said, Jen, I'm fisting to bring you a piece of paper. He said, they're going to bring you a piece of paper in. And he said, you have to choose to sign it or not. I said, okay. Because I knew what he was talking about. And I said, Dr. Robinson, what would you do? And he said, Jen, we can bring her home and we can treat her, but we're probably going to kill her in the ICU. And we're going to treat her to the point she's miserable. And I said, or you can let her go peacefully. So that amazing DNR paper that they bring in, I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, how is life fair right now? How do I say not to save her? I'm thinking we're just going to be in an airplane. What if this is the last time that Mike and Braden say goodbye? What if? There's a lot of what ifs. And, we both have to sign saying we agree. And I still carry that piece of paper in my wallet. Really? Because I think on the days that are the hardest, when it's not something that, and like, this was the hardest day of my life so far.
Wow, yeah.
So if I can do this, I can do this.
Yeah.
Because I really do. It still rides in my wallet all day long.
Wow.
Yeah. It's folded up, but it's there. But, I'm thinking I'm making this choice. But it was the easiest choice I've ever made.
Yeah.
Because looking at her, I thought, we've done everything we promised. You fought a war. You've won. If it's your time, it's your time. And I can't stop it. Right. And if I choose to stop it, I'm choosing to give you a life that you didn't choose.
Yeah.
So, okay, we signed. We get on that plane. And the one thing I will never forget as long as I live on that plane, she hadn't opened her eyes. She hasn't said anything to me other than trying to wipe away my tear. Oh. And she all of a sudden opens her eyes wide and she rolls her head over to the window of the airplane and she picks her hand up and she blows 2 kisses to somebody on that wing of that airplane. And she rolled her eyes back and she went back to sleep. And I told Mike, I said, it was almost like, because the backstory of that is my dad passed away in November. Look, I got snuck up.
Me too.
It's fine.
Sorry.
My dad had passed away the November before she was diagnosed in March, just suddenly. We lost him he was fine one day and he was gone the next. And we didn't understand it. Mom was angry. I was angry. Mom actually found him that we had gone girls' Christmas shopping after Thanksgiving and we come home and that's a day I won't forget.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Mom had gone inside to get all the doors open so we could unload the packages, and she hit the door on me, yelling, "It's your dad! It's your dad!" And I thought, what is my dad? And of course, I have Anna Kate that's barely a year old, and I have Braden, and so I pulled them out of the car real quick. And this is where, like I tell you, my son has grown up fast and furious. You know,
man,
he's passed away while we've gone, and Mom finds him that way, and of course, she doesn't know what to do, and she's hysterical. And that kid that's sitting in that other room, he looks at me and he's like, "Mom, it's okay. You take care of her. I'm going to sit by Granddad." And he sat by my father.
What?
Until the paramedics got there.
Amazing.
And so did Anna Kate. They both sat right by him. And I'm thinking, okay, this is wrong in so many ways that I'm letting him stay.
It's wrong.
Because he's not here. He's dead.
He was there.
But for them, they needed that. And I'll never forget that police officer that day. He come up, he's like, "Man, we need to get them down." And Braden looked at him. He's like, "I'm not going." He said, "Until they come get him, I'm not going." And I thought, you can have him. He's 6. Go ahead. If you want to deal with that, I'm not making him move. If he's choosing, because I'm trying to calm Mom down and I'm trying to get phone calls made because, it's that moment of life. You're hysterical. Nothing makes sense.
No.
But that November when he passed, we were angry. I was angry. I didn't get one more goodbye with him. I didn't get any of that. But now with her, I think, the good Lord came and told Dad, "Hey, this is fixing to happen." And my dad would have laid his life down for any of us. And he said, "I'm good. I'm ready. I've lived a good life." And I think he knew that if she passed away without him, I wouldn't have been okay because she had nobody. that she would have known to go back to. And I know you don't have to have that in heaven, but
I know.
to me, for my closure, on that airplane, it was him. He had been there by her side, and when she said I was home,
Yeah.
it was because she had seen home.
Yeah.
And she was okay. And Dad was right there with her. And so, something about that peacefulness of it, I thought, okay,
Wow.
sister. But that little turkey, she made it all the way home. She made it to make sure that Mike and Braden were there. And throughout the night, she did fine. She held her own. Her respirations were low, but she held her own. And the next morning, they actually even came in and said, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to stay here, or do you want us to discharge you and you go home? And I told Mike, I said, I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't feel safe at home. I know what's
Yeah.
coming. But, and Miss Margaret, that was one of our nurses, she said, just stay. Stay another night and just kind of feel out and get comfortable. Here you are. You have a bed. You're occupying a bed.
Right.
They don't care.
They're
She is not a
incredible.
patient. They're her family, and
Yeah.
they're there to cover her and us in any way they can to make sure that this next piece of it is easy, or as easy as it can be. It's not easy.
No.
But that very night, as I'm sitting there holding her, the breathing changed, and I knew when it changed. And as it's changing, Mike and I look at each other, and we tell her, we're okay, baby girl. If you're home, you go home. And I said, we'll be okay. I said, I promise you we'll be okay. And I said, I promise you that every act of kindness that was ever shown to us, we'll try to repay it until the day our shoes aren't on this earth. And I said, you are everything to us. But I said, it's not fair to us to keep you.
Yeah.
It's your turn. And I swear to this day that Dad was there, and with those words, her chest stopped rising. And it was the most peaceful thing I have ever seen in my life. It was the hardest thing, because you think you'd want to scream,
Yeah.
come help.
Yeah.
But you don't. You just hold her, and you just wait. And Dr. Robinson's in the room, the nurse is in the room, her, I don't even know, one of the other specialists, they had been there for hours in that room with us because they knew it was coming. They didn't leave.
Wow.
They didn't go see rounds. They sat there in quiet silence just to make sure they were with us in that room. And she took her last breath. But what was the craziest thing, as we're sitting there in this room, I had tried not to think about funerals. I had tried not to think, because I thought, if I think about that, that means it's real.
Yeah.
And if it becomes real, then it's going to really happen. And so you don't think
Yeah.
about it. Well, now I don't have a choice. I have to figure out, okay, how does this all work? What do I do? And so the good Lord knows how to work things, because my best friend in college, she's a mortician.
Oh, wow.
And as she finds out that this has happened, or that we're done, that Anna Kate has passed, she calls and she said, Jen, I've wanted to have this conversation for the last 2 weeks with you. She said, but I didn't know how.
No, please
she
don't.
Said, yeah. She said, I didn't know how to bridge it with you. She said, but I want to take care of Anna Kate.
Oh.
I want to come home, and I want to be that person.
That's amazing.
And that's what I told her. I said, well, that was one of the promises, that nobody would touch her, that she didn't know until I laid her into her final resting spot. And I said, for you to do that, you don't know how much that means to me. She said, then done. She said, I've got to make a few phone calls and figure out where I can go, but
Yeah.
I've got her. I said, okay. Because she was like a mom to her too.
Oh.
She had changed her diaper. She
Yeah.
had fed her. She had a connection to her.
Yeah.
And so I called our funeral home from back home, and I said, look, I know y'all are not doing her funeral. I said, but I need you to come pick her up for me and take her to this location. And Patrick, without a question, he's like, Miss Jen, I'll be there. He said, I'm coming. He said, you got to give me about 2 hours.
That's your
but
best
I'm-
friend?
Yeah. Well,
Where-
it's my sister's best friend,
Your sister's
actually.
best friend.
But they're family friends. And they own a funeral home in Dyersburg. But I knew I had to get her here. And I didn't know how that was going to happen without me finding somebody that knew her. And I didn't want her riding with somebody that I didn't know.
No.
And so he came all the way from New Bern, Tennessee, and picked her up. And,
Wow.
he said he brought family quilts. That was the thing. He brought a couple quilts. He said, she's going to ride safe. And she and I are going to have a long conversation on the way home. And I said, that's perfect.
Oh.
But, as we're sitting in this room still with Anna Kate, and the nursing staff doesn't rush us. They let us have all the time we want with her. We make a decision, it's like, okay, what's her favorite? Doc McStuffins. Okay, I need a casket airbrushed. I need it done. I need it. I don't know where I'm going to find it, and we're not there. But out of the woodworks, this man that I've never met in my life up until this point, somebody calls him and gives me his number and says he wants you to give him a call. So I call. He's like, you don't know me and I don't know you, but for some reason God gives me this talent. And he said, if you can get me her casket, I'll make it look like whatever she wants it to look like. And I said, she wants the Docmobile. I can already tell you, she wants to go out in style in the Docmobile. And so I'm thinking, okay, I still don't know how this is working, but it's just like the pieces come together as easy as they could have, because you know, he's meeting an airplane to pick up a casket that's being flown in overnight, and he's going to airbrush it, and it's coming, and all these pieces. But in the midst of that, St. Jude, you know, they come in and they say, okay, are you ready? Because at that point, Patrick had gotten there, and it's time for me to let her go for a second without me. And I'm like, no, you know, I'm not okay. And they're like, we've got to move her. And I'm like, okay. And they were like, you know, we can take her down on the gurney through the back. And Mike says, I'd really like to carry her just like I've always done. And they said, okay. They said, give us just a minute. Let's get the security just to make sure there's not a lot of families. Yeah. But the families know that's not a thing, but you don't want to be just in front line and center. Because you hear those Harvey calls all the time while you're in St. Jude's walls, and you see furniture come flying out of rooms, and you know somebody's worst nightmare is happening. And you don't know the outcome always. But I didn't want to upset any families either. Oh. And didn't know if we'd run into families we knew. Yeah. So he's like, okay, yes, give us a minute. Let's get the security clearing the elevators, and we'll go the same path you always do to the parking lot. And so Mike picks her up, and he puts her on the shoulder. We cover her with her blanket like we always did. And we go down those 3 floors to the bottom, and Patrick's waiting for her. And she got to go home in style. You know, there was nothing different about what we did that day, other than, you know, we got in our car and she headed north without us, and we headed north without her. But that was okay. But even through all of that, you know, she made sure she kept every one of us safe. Yeah. And all along the way, different bits and pieces would pop up on our travel home that night. The sunset was like I've never seen it before. Like a young gentleman I taught, he sent me a picture actually. And he said, Miss Jen, I want you to see this. And he snapped it, and he said, she's telling us she's home. And I said, she's lit the sky up for us to say she's found home, and she's comfortable, and she's good. And I was like, I know she's good. And of course we have that one that's, you know, we're trying to figure out, and he's holding it together like a champ. And it's like, okay, what does the rest of the world look like now? You know, we have a week ahead of us of unknowns and a new adjustment of how do you go home, and how do you not be a mom? How do you not be a dad? Yeah. How do you not be a nurse that we'd only known for 12 months? Yeah. You know, that was our life. But she was home, and that's all that mattered. Yeah. And that sky was as pink and ruffly as I have ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen a sunset like it again. But she was just telling me she was home. Her and my dad were breaking a lot of rules, I'm sure. But she made sure to tell us that, hey, Mom, I've got here, and this crayon box that they've given me is pretty spectacular. Yeah. So just know. But, you know, through all of that, those 3 promises, we made sure that nobody ever touched her till she was laid in her final resting spot that didn't know her. And nobody touched her. Yeah. And this town made sure they sent her out like a princess would go. And people I will never know. I don't even remember the day, and that's the horrible part. You know, you think it's like your wedding day. You don't really remember a lot of those pieces of it because you were so wrapped up in it that you didn't pay attention to everything going on. But, you know, the kids from school, they came. You know, they were all standing there because as much as I'd like to say, you know, they didn't impact us, that she impacted them, it was the opposite. You know, they impacted me greatly because count them out a lot of times. You think, you know, they don't believe in anything. They don't want to stand for anything. Compassion has left the world, but those kids rallied every single day, and they would send me messages along the way just to say, keep your head up. Or, you know, we're praying for you. And it was those days that seemed to be the hardest days I was going through. And just those encouragement words were like, okay, I can breathe. It's fine. Yeah. But all of that and those big promises, especially when we would be okay. And then the one we'd pay back every act of kindness, that led into the foundation. Right. And it wasn't even an afterthought. It was, you know, okay, her legacy, her spirit has to live on. Not that we keep her alive necessarily. It's how she persevered through everything, that nothing slowed her down, nothing stood in her way, and no matter how hard the day was, she overcame it some way, somehow. And that her whole world was beautiful because of so many people, and so many people don't have that in the world. So many people that we met didn't have that. And it's like, that was our last Christmas with Anna Kate. And had we not been able to get her the toys she wanted, or Braden the toys, that'd have been regret and doubt and anger to some degree that we let her down. And so for those families, that's what we do. Mike and I both, that's where we start. We make sure that those families that don't have a community, those families that feel like they're alone, have somebody, because they're going through a storm with no umbrella, and it's to give them some kind of shelter through that, or some kind of peace is it's small, and you think it's a toy, but a toy is a memory. And if that's the last memory you get, that may be the only thing that you have to sustain yourself for the duration of your life, because you don't get to make new ones. No. And the pantry, when we started the foundation, Target House didn't have a pantry.
Right.
And that was our first goal, because at Ronald McDonald, if it was 12 o'clock midnight when we were discharged, we could go to that pantry and there were Pop-Tarts and there were chips and, there was oatmeal. There was everything you could imagine in that pantry. Yeah. And we didn't have to try to find a store that was open at midnight. We didn't have to drag her out to a store. It was there. But we had two of us. So, one of us could stay and one of us could go. But if you're a mom or a dad there with your child, you have to take them with you. And if you're sitting there with an immune compromised child, you can't go in Kroger, but your kid wants milk so bad, or they want, as in Anna Kate's case, a hot dog. We went to South Memphis one time for a darn hot dog, because it was that was it. She wanted a hot dog. And it was like, where do we find a hot dog at 1 o'clock in the morning? Because there's nowhere. No. But for that, and that was it. It was like, okay. So at Target House, we get there and there's no pantry. There's nothing. So you're self-contained, and you're supposed to be. It's kind of normalcy. You try to gain normalcy back. Okay. But it's like, hey, what can we do? Why can't you have a pantry? Why can't you have basic necessities? Milk, eggs, things that you could get you by at least to the day. Chips. And, with Anna Kate, it didn't matter if that bag of chips was $20. If she wanted a bag of chips, we figured out how to buy that $20 bag of chips. Yeah. That may be a chip crumb that she got in her mouth and ate, but it was progress. Yeah. And that's the same thing for all those parents. And so, we harped and we pleaded, and finally Jennifer at St. Jude, she was like, hey, I think we're making progress on this. She said, we've thought about it in the past, but, if you're willing to help us, then we'll do it. Done. Wow. You just tell us what you need to get your feet on the ground. And that was the first big project we did with Target was that pantry. And today it serves all 96 families.
Yeah. Is that where the kitchen is?
Yep. It's kind of off the kitchen. It's a huge storage room. And once a week, every family gets a shopping list of what's in that pantry. And they can check if there's something they need on it. Wow. But if they get out at midnight and there's nothing in the refrigerators, then they can call down to the concierge desk and say, hey, do we have blah? Or can you bring us? And it's right at their door. Wow. So they can go home. They can be home for a little while and not have to worry about food or, whatever, because they've been inpatient for 3 weeks and nothing in the refrigerator is worth eating. Right. But I guess that's just a small portion. The Christmas store. That's my jewel. Now that I won't pretend, because initially when she was diagnosed, I thought it's not going to be horrible. We can still go places when her counts are up, because I want her to see things. And that reality was shot pretty quickly, because we found out when chemo was done, those immune systems would drop to almost nothing, and you were in isolation for weeks. And then usually we got a fever and we were inpatient for 10 or 15 days. And then we were out and it was starting the cycle all over again. And so shopping wasn't easy. And you couldn't. I mean, thankfully, Amazon and I were best friends. Like, even Anna Catherine, and I don't know if you remember the story, but she loved Amazon, and she shopped quite frequently on Amazon, enough to the point once we got back to Target House, and they were like, you have a package. And I have a package. And it was like, yeah, it's a pretty big box. And I was like, oh, okay. So we look on it, and it's to Jennifer Wins. And I was like, I didn't order anything, and it's coming. And so I look at my Amazon account. She bought a doll. Like, she had physically picked the doll and hit ship. And it was
like, buy now.
It did. And it was an anatomically correct doll. Thankfully, it was a girl.
I was going to say.
Yes. And it was the ugliest doll I've ever seen in my life. And we told her, we said, sister, that is yours for life. Like, she is yours. It was like one of these you carry in high school, like, the babies. Yeah. It was horrendously ugly. Like, but she loved that baby. That was hers. But she literally shopped and shipped it to the house, or to Target House of all things.
Oh my God.
So she loved Amazon.
Jessa did that the other day, and she, I look at my phone and I'm like, what? And she was like about to click buy now, and there was like $10 and there was like $300. I was like, how did she know to click add to cart? How did they know that?
It's like they're born with that finger and the magic ability to be like, oh, because even she had to have chosen Target House to ship it to, because it was
what?
defaulting to here. And so I can't tell you. Mike and I are baffled by the idea of
She knew.
how that worked. But I can tell you that baby doll is still with her.
I was gonna
it went with her.
I was gonna ask
When
you
we
where
said-
that baby doll is.
I told her it went with her for life, and it did. We
Do you
made
have
sure.
a picture of that baby doll?
Probably, yes, somewhere. It is not. It's just not. But
That's
thankfully, it was a
hilarious.
girl. Because when I
Please.
see the box, I'm like, medical,
Oh, boy.
something on the box. I'm thinking, what is this? And then I open it up. It's a legit baby
It
doll.
had to be like $200.
You know, I don't even know to this day. Probably, no joke. But, you know, it was the one thing she ordered, and she
Yeah.
wanted it, and she loved that baby. And she still has that baby.
Amazing.
Forever and forever,
Yep.
amen. She has the baby.
She does.
But that Christmas store, you know, we could
Yes.
order Christmas presents. We could do those things. But for so many families, you couldn't go shop. Like I don't know that we touched 2 stores in 12 months that we actually went into with her. She might have gotten to go to Walmart once or twice in those 12 months. And that was only under extreme conditions when we knew there would be limited people and her counts were super high and she was good. But you know, we couldn't shop. So, you know, she shopped online. But for so many families, again, they didn't have paychecks. That's not a possibility. No. But their kids have wish lists, you know, and you're thinking, okay, how do I get, because even now, if your child's not sick, you try to get them everything they ask for. Yeah. It's like the magic of Christmas, you know, and we spoil them. And I know that's awful because it's like, it's not about the toy. It's not supposed to be about the toys. It's supposed to be about the family and the meaning of Christmas. But, you know, for us, it was like she wanted the Docmobile. That was her thing. And, you know, we had the financial means of doing it, but there's so many families that don't have that. They can't afford an extra toy. They can't afford a $30 baby doll. They can't, you know, it's not a feasibility for them. Right. And so where we had a community, they don't. And Mike and I, you know, after that Christmas, and that was when we were talking, you know, this is the first thing we will do. We will make sure that we figure out how to make Christmas magical for every child that walks in those walls, and for the stress to be taken off the parents of worrying about how they are going to afford those toys. And so that Christmas store, they had started it in some degree with them already. The parents were allowed to come down and pick out 3 or 4 things that they thought their child might like. And we kind of adjusted it a little. Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, well, what can we get? What can we not get? What is useful? You know, because it's just like anything else. When you get donations, you get a lot of baby stuff. You don't get a lot of teen stuff. You don't get the bigger kid or the higher priced items. And it's like, okay, that's where we come in then. Let us help with that.
Right.
And so now, I don't know that we don't cover every single child that's there in some way. Braden shops for the older kids. You know, as he's grown up with this, we release him. It's like, okay, go down through the aisles. If you wanted something that you didn't have, just go put it in your buggy. Yeah. And he enjoys that so much. Yeah. You know, it's like being a kid in a candy store, number one. You just, anything you think you might want. If you were a teenager, what would you want? Right. And then we let O go now, you know, with O here. It's like, okay, O.
Like, I'll take all this.
Yes. And then he doesn't understand. It's like, wait, why is it going in the trailer?
Yeah, why is it not coming on me?
Yeah, but we've explained to him, and he knows it's for the sick kids. And it's that part of it, and we've invited the high school kids to come in too, because a lot of our kids, they need that interaction. You know, they need that compassion. They need to see that there's something bigger than themselves. And usually once I hook them, they're hooked. And it's like, can I go again? All day long. Yeah. Yes, please. We'll take you. But that's her story. You know, it's that inspiring story. And I share it with the kids every year, not just to keep her memory alive, but to show them that perseverance and kindness go a long way in the world, and that we forget about those things, because we were kept alive. We were kept whole because of the kindness of others, not because we were financially stable and able to do it. We wouldn't have been. We would have not ever have been. And it took this whole entire community to make sure the 4 of us stayed the 4 of us. And that's why that child smiled. That's why she felt like she was at home, is because her dynamics didn't change. Her location changed. Right. And, you know, with the kids in the high school, every year, you know, I tell them, I'm going to tell you my story. And it's not a beautiful story, but it's not meant to make you sad necessarily. Yeah. It's meant to show you that, yes, you may have been in 3rd grade when this happened, but because you made a card, because you sent a hello, you sent some, you know, anything, your parents told you about us and you prayed for us. Yeah. We were kept strong. And so when we asked you to make those nursing home cards, when we asked you to make those Veterans Day cards, somebody is going to be impacted by that little bit of kindness, and you don't understand the global impact of that. Yeah. I said, because the day I got a picture of all of you guys covered in pink, sitting in our gymnasium. I was waiting for the news of what type of cancer we had and what it was. And I said, I hit my knees. I said, because it was this overwhelming feeling of like it's going to be okay.
Right.
You know, all of these people are on our side, and all of these people are talking to the man above and telling them, you know, to help and to keep her safe. And I said, you brought me to my knees. And I said, I don't know how I can ever tell you thank you. And I know you were not in that picture. None of you sitting in front of me were in that picture, but you are still sitting right now in front of me.
Yeah.
And I said, every day you inspire me to come in this room.
Yeah.
And you make me stronger, and you allow me to share her story in order to keep her memory alive. Yes. Yeah. But it's the spirit of the whole thing, of the kindness, of the compassion. Mm-hmm. And those of you that pick occupations that are going into the medical field, you know, those people had an impact on us like nobody will understand, because they weren't doctors and nurses. They were aunts and uncles and grandmothers and grandfathers to my kids while we were there. They took their job seriously,
right?
But they took it even farther to make it their passion. It's not an occupation.
Right.
It's what they strongly believe in. And so with her foundation, when we got her logo, when we figured out what that looked like, and those pigtails started wiggling so again, cute. it was breath. It was life. And I tell her every day, when she's ready for us to say goodbye to it, she'll tell us. Mm-hmm. But as long as she's giving us doors and lights and switches turning on, I'm going to follow them.
Yeah.
And so far, she's been busy.
Really?
She's a busy girl. That's what I tell her. I said, you know, people that I would have never thought, still don't know, a lot of these people will reach out and they're like, you know, so-and-so told me about your story. What can we do to help?
Wow.
And it's like, okay. And I've learned to just say thank you. And thank yous are such small words, but that's the only word I have is to say thank you.
Yeah.
Because without all of these people, without you, without this, you know, her story stops. Yeah. And it's not just her story. It's all of the kids and the family stories that have gone through and that will go through and that don't know it's coming yet.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, you hear it more prevalently in the world than you ever did before.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you can go in blindsided with. I mean, you're blindsided with it, but then you have to get your feet solidly in front of you and you have to figure it out, because otherwise it's a roller coaster and it's one with no end. And thankfully ours was a pretty passive roller coaster. I mean, we went ups and downs, but we didn't have the loop-to-loops. We didn't have, you know, the giant drops. We just changed locations.
Right.
It's a whole nother world, but it's a good world. And that's what I tell her. I said, sister, all of these things, and as we're sitting here, I'm looking at all these silent auction things that have come in the mail from some people I don't even know. Yeah. Like there's companies that have reached out because they've heard the story from somebody and they're like, we want to help. Okay. You know, this is the fundraiser we're coming up on, which is Trivia Night, is our biggest fundraiser. And this is the one that buys all the toys for Christmas.
Right.
And typically on an average Christmas shopping, we're thinking, you know, $14,000 or $15,000 in toys. We pack, our goal is to pack the trailer from the top to the bottom, and we have to shove the last toy in. And, you know, you think, well, those are just toys, but those are memories to me. No. That's, it may be the last memory for some of those families. And that's all that matters to me. Oh, yeah. And to some, it's just toys, and they're meaningless, and they are, but they're not meaningless to the families that's going to receive them. No. They're not meaningless to the mom or the dad that's down there with their heads down low because they feel like they've let their kid down, that they can't buy whatever, but then they round the corner and there's the toy that their kids asked for. That's my goal. Yes. You know, I figure, what's the hot toy? Okay, let's start getting our hands on it. You start calling globally across the U.S. Okay, can you find one? Yeah. Okay, yes, I've got one. And there's been a couple of Christmases, even my own, like, can I have one? First Target house, but if they get one first. And then, but magically we always seem to round the two. It never fails. And that's what I tell them. It's that the world has a way of working itself out. Yeah. So it's not as my mom says, you know, we'll talk sometimes and she'll ask about something. I said, Mom, death doesn't scare me anymore. I said, what scares me is not living my life to the fullest, not making sure my kids live their life to the fullest. I said, because then I've let them down. Yeah. But death doesn't scare me. It's not even close to scary, because I watched that little girl blow a kiss to somebody magically out there on that wing and never look at me. But she was wide-eyed and bushy-tailed to whoever that was. And it was just like, I'll see you soon. And she blew those kisses. And even weeks and months later, I have a picture still to this day. I was sitting on the back porch. You know, life had gone back to normal to some degree, a new normal without her. It was a hard day at school. It was just hard. You know, it was just trying and stressful. And with the weight of her missing her too, I was sitting on the back porch just enjoying the day and the quiet and and my phone battery is at like 5%. And I remember that fondly. And I look up, and in the clouds is 2 perfect images. And before that moment, there'd been no clouds in the sky, but one was shaped just like my dad, and one was shaped just like Anna Catherine. And before I could think, I thought, okay, I'll take a picture of it real quick. Or do I go inside? Do I go inside and get people, or what do I do? And I thought, okay, 5%. I'm not going to be able to take a picture. But I held that camera up and I snapped the picture. And the minute I snapped it, I looked down to see if I got it.
Yeah.
And I looked back up, and the clouds are gone. Like, it's back to blue sky. And I tell them all the time, it was that moment of I was letting my little girl down. My head was down, it was heavy, and I wasn't living up to my end of the bargain. And so she gave me a little glimpse of her and Dad, and like, it's gorgeous. It's amazing up here. You got to suck it up, sister, and get your head up, because you've got the world ahead of you.
Yeah.
So it's actually on my side of my refrigerator, because I look at it every morning.
Have to go look
Yeah.
at that.
And I tell her, I said, I know people don't believe in those things, but now, since she's been gone, there's so many things in the world that happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not coincidence at all.
No,
and I don't take it, and I'm surprised we're sitting here. And I say that, here comes the red bird. It'll
right there.
fly into the window here in a second, just to get your attention. So he lives with us most of the spring. At about this time, of course, she would have passed away in March. 2nd was our anniversary of her death. And that's about when this bird shows up. So, and he becomes annoying. I won't pretend.
Are you serious?
Because he loves the window so much. But he'll crash into the window numerous times. As soon as I said that, and like he shows up, I'm like, there he is. Okay. And that's crazy that I'm sitting here talking about it and hadn't showed up this whole time, and as I'm going to tell you the story. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's coincidence at all. It's like he's going to sit there and look at us in the tree. Yep. But it's always that super red cardinal. And he loves to peck on the window, and he loves to, I call it like crashing into it. He really doesn't. He just kind of flies and scratches the window with his feet. Like, here he's back. He's probably going to fly right behind you. Yeah.
It's not even like a clear thing where he thinks he's running through. He's just saying, hey.
Yeah. And he'll do it in the mornings, usually on O's door or O's window. Of course, O's room is where Anna Catherine's room was.
Right.
And that's where it started. And that was the I thought, what is this? This is really weird.
Ooh, I have the chills right now.
But now I'm like, in the mornings, like, can you wait till like 8, Bird? Like, please, just 8. Because, he'll start running into the window. Of course, O sits up like, what is that noise? And it's like, Bird, 8. One more hour, please. No, I'm kidding. We enjoy him. And he comes and goes as he pleases. But he'll stay till almost the end of April, and we won't see him again. If history repeats itself, he'll be gone in April.
Oh, my God.
So it's like he gives us a couple months with him, and then he goes on his merry way.
I definitely believe in that stuff 100%. And Chessa one day, I guess this was back in August, my grandmother wasn't doing so well. Like, she lived a wonderful, long life, but it was getting towards the end. And but I was changing her diaper, and I heard her, she goes, Mamie. And I looked at her, I was like, what? And Mamie is my grandmother's sister who passed away, so she was in heaven. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that is crazy. And, Chessa was old enough to, say words, but not, that. And so I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I think she's seeing Aunt Mamie or something right now. And I've definitely, witnessed her see some people or talk to people in the corner in the light. And I'm like, okay, Papa, if that's you, don't scare me. But
yeah.
But anyway, and 20 minutes later, I get a call from my mom saying Mama is passing away. And so I was like, Aunt Mamie is coming down to get her sister and help her get to heaven. And it was insane. And I got to drive down, and I got to go say bye to her, actually. And I was really obviously seeing that is not something that you want to see. And you're not ever prepared for that.
No.
And I was nervous to ask my dad and my aunt to step out, but I wanted to have a moment alone with her and talk to her. And I got to talk to her for like 30 minutes. And I honestly thought of you like a lot, and tried to embody your strength, and I told Mama, because I remember what you told me. You told Anna Kate, and I told Mama, I was like, Mama, you do not have to hold on for us anymore, because my dad, he was like, all right, Mama, we'll be back tomorrow. And I'm like, Dad, no, don't make her hold on for tomorrow. And so, as everyone said bye, I went back and I was like, Mama, you do not have to wait for us tomorrow. I was like, I know Aunt Mamie's here. I know Papa's here. And she lost a baby. He was 3 years old. He had a hole in his heart. And back then that wasn't something
Right.
you could fix. And so she lost a 3-year-old. And do not wait for us, Mama. It's okay. We were leaving. And as we're driving back, we get the call that she passed on. And that was crazy. It just, I don't even have words. It was amazing. And it felt, obviously, I still think about her and I'll just like cry. But she lived a wonderful life, and I got to say bye, and she heard me. She actually heard me.
Piece.
She did, and she would have waited forever if I was like, "All right, see you later again." She would have, yeah.
And that's that selfish human part of us. We don't want to ever say goodbye, and because goodbye is forever in some cases, and it's hard. But like with her, that was the right thing to do. It wasn't to put her through more for us. And, even Dr. Robinson with her, he said, Jen, we can put her through what's called an ICE regimen. And he said, but most kids don't come through it. And he said, but it prolongs her life. And I was like, those are hard, those things to hear. And then, you can do radiation with her. But if you radiate her right now at the age she's at, the degree of radiation she needs, cranial and spinal, you will probably more than likely lock her in at the age she is mentally for the rest of her life. And it's like, okay, this is not fair. This is me wanting to hold her for something. And of course, radiation really wasn't even an option. They wouldn't have done it there.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that because that's not something that's going to guarantee her any more lifetime as far as days. But mentally, it's going to traumatize her.
Right.
And it's like, okay. And the ICE regiment, he pretty much guaranteed us it wouldn't save her life. It would just prolong her life here with us. It might give us weeks. It might give us days. But it wasn't a cure.
Right.
It's like, she will tell us. She'll tell us.
Yeah.
And she told us loud and clear. And,
She did.
And now looking, like I said, in that ER, she didn't say, I want to go home. She said, I home. And that was the exact words she said. And for me, looking back, that's her. It was like your grandma. It was, she's home. She's safe, but she needs me to be okay before she can take that next step. And, Dad was there. And again, I don't know that I would have been okay had he not been there. But in my mind, she's safe. She has somebody that held her and loved her. And he's there. He's going to take her hand and he's going to walk her home. And Mike and I, as hard as it was, that was the right decision for her. It's a hard decision to make. It's not a decision that I ever hope I have to face again. And I hope my children never have to face that decision with us, that it's like my dad. I tell them all the time, I said, I'm hoping like my dad, I'm here and then I'm gone. Nobody has to make a decision for me. It's my time.
Right.
But life, it's not fair. It's never going to be fair. And I tell people it's not supposed to be fair.
Right.
It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to teach you things all along the path in order, A, you don't remake mistakes. B, you learn from your mistakes, and C, you change, what you need to do to better whatever it is that you've got guilt from. And
right.
it's hard. It's hard. And it's hard to live by those words every day. It's hard to, to speak them and not follow through with them, because then you're feeling like you're letting yourself down, and everybody else you've spoke to all these years, it's like, okay, but we do it for her, and I do it for her. I will do it for the rest of my life. And Braden, will have to be told of her, and he'll have to, a memory will have to be created in his mind of her. But those are things that we get to do. And would I've ever told you at almost 40 years of age I would have had another child? No, not in a million years.
Yeah.
That was not on my agenda, and starting out of life.
Right.
But I wouldn't trade that sucker for anything in the world.
No way.
And Mike and I've had conversations. What are we going to do if he ever asked the question? Would he be here? If that question comes up, if she had not gotten sick and she had not passed away, would he be here? And we, Mike has one way and I have another. I said, Mike, I will never lie to him, because I don't know. I don't have a clue what would have happened. I mean, he could have still been here.
Yeah.
There's mysteries in life you can't solve. And if he had a purpose and was supposed to be, then he might have been.
Right.
But to tell him, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, buddy. What I do know is that your sister put every characteristic she could in you to make sure you kept us on our toes from now till retirement. So it's fine. It's fine.
Not even retirement, forever.
No, forever and amen. Well, no, that's when his brother takes over. That's what we told him.
There you go.
That's
so
buddy,
funny.
when you're like 30, he's only going to be 20. He's going to need you. Yeah.
That is so
You're going to be
funny.
his 411 when he calls for an emergency, not 911, because that's when he's calling mom. But his 411 just for info. And I said, that truck is going to look mighty fun with him in a car seat beside you. You don't have room for a girlfriend.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
So did I ever think I would have an almost senior in high school and then an almost kindergartner? No.
I
not at all.
mean, what a difference in age right there.
One
You
graduating
were
and
all over the place.
one going in.
Yes,
It's just a
that's
repeat.
crazy.
It's like, okay, we survived you. Okay, let's go
I
again.
know. Now I have to do
Let's
it again.
start.
That is so funny.
I
Oh
kid-
my goodness.
I tell the kids at school, I said, it's funny. I said, when I think about it, I'm going to graduation and I can leave graduation with O and go get my senior citizen coffee. It's fine.
No, you cannot.
I will almost be 60. Like I will be pushing 60, like 59 or 58.
Oh,
going
when
on
he's
59.
graduating, I was like,
When
no,
he's
you're not. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when he's
Okay.
graduating high school. Most parents
That's-
are
yeah.
30s, 40s, and here I will be.
That's how my parents were though. Because they had me and I'm 29, and
Yeah.
then my brother is 25, and my sister's about to be 21.
Oh,
So they were like that with Francesca. So
And I wouldn't trade it, to be honest with you,
No.
because I'm more laid back with O. Now, am I quicker to respond to something to change the behavior? Yes, but I'm more laid back in my parenting style with him. I'm thinking, just like we were talking earlier, he doesn't have to have brand new clothes.
yeah,
Why did
It's
I
fine.
stress about that with the
I
first
know.
one? He had to look this
me
way.
too.
And if his shoes were ragged, we had to get a new pair. I'm thinking, oh, you're fine. Is your toes coming out in? No, they're good. Keep wearing
Yes.
them.
Third child problems
Yes.
and second child for me.
Yes. So it's like, it's fine. And it's a different parenting style.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it, I think back to her, what she taught us to, take life one day at a time. Don't worry about the stresses that
Yeah.
you can't control. If I can't physically fix it or change it, I don't need to put it on the plate that I'm worrying about,
Yeah.
because it's just added stress. And things are going to work out.
Yeah.
Whether I like the outcome or I don't like that, it will work out on its
Yeah.
own. And with him, you watch him and you see the little personalities come out, and there's things all day long that instantly, even words, he'll just say out of the blue, that's her words. And it's like, and you try not to give that expression of startling, but
Yeah,
like,
really.
what did you just say?
Yeah.
Say it again, please. But you see those things. And I know without a doubt, like, I know the good Lord sent him, but she had a hand in picking
She
out.
sent him too.
Yeah. She gave him a big old kiss on that forehead and said, you go.
She knew
Keep
y'all
him on your
needed
toes.
him.
Yes. And we did. I think
Yeah.
so. And his brother. Because otherwise, you sit and you think. And when you think, you overthink a lot of times. And then, you worry even more. And we don't have time to think.
Yeah.
You go. We go and we go and we go.
Yeah.
But this foundation, and I think too with Braden, when we sit down and we talked about having another child after Anna Kate passed away, Braden was our deciding factor. We had a boy that's 7, almost 8 years old, and he's crying at night because he's scared, and he doesn't want to be by himself. Well, we can't tell him you're not going to be by yourself, because he's just witnessed 2 things in his life that showed, life can be taken in a blink of an eye. And I can't tell him that I'm going to be around till I'm 90. I don't
Yeah.
know that answer. And, he's scared. And, I'm like, well, you have your family, bud. You have your aunts and you have your cousins. But, it's not the same to him. He wants his people. He wants his close-knit family. And, I'm like, oh, Mike and I'm looking at each other because, I'm holding strong. No, we're done. We're done. We're done.
Yeah,
We're
you told me you were
all
done.
Yeah, we're done. And one day, Mike's like, I think we're being selfish and scared. He said, what if we just, we'll just let the good Lord have it. If O is meant to be here, or at that time, of course, we didn't know girl or boy, but if we're meant to have more children,
Right.
then more children will come. If not, then we won't. Evidently, the good Lord already had that one picked out, and he was just waiting for both of our hearts to be receptive
Yeah.
of it. And it was like, here's O. Here you
Yeah,
go.
right away.
Yeah. and but Braden's calmer. He doesn't have the stresses. He doesn't worry. And he's probably my biggest concern of anybody, because he's not my talker either.
Right.
He doesn't get it off his chest. And
Right.
so I don't know some days how he deals with it. And that's hard.
Yeah.
But I know the kind of man I think he will become. And without a doubt, I think it'll be an amazing man.
Yes.
I think he's lived through enough stuff in his life that he knows how precious things are. And
Mm-hmm.
that, you have to work hard at doing things, and you have to give up some things to make other things work, but you do it for the right reasons, not for the paycheck necessarily, but because you love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And we've pushed that into him since she got sick. You watch those doctors that come to work every day. They know the outcomes of 90% of those children are not going to be good outcomes,
Yeah.
but they put their heart and soul into them, and in hopes that there's something different that will come out of their treatment. And that's what we told him, buddy. You can go to work every day and make millions of dollars. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have time to enjoy it, or to appreciate your family and watch them enjoy it, what are you doing that for?
Yeah.
It's nothing. You're buying things that do nothing but suffocate you.
They're not going to heaven with you.
No, you're going the same way you came in, naked and done. That's it. That's what I tell them. And I tell them these are just things. Everything that you have is replaceable, but what you can't replace is your memories and your family. Those things people are not replaceable. Things are. So why worry about comparing yourself to this person or this person? And he's gotten so good at it because even at school, middle school's hard. High school's even harder.
Oh.
When you don't have the right brand on your shoulder, when you don't have the right brand on your back pocket, yes, it doesn't change the person. It just changes the outfit. That's it. And I tell him, I said, buddy, who cares what you wear? Don't worry about that. And if you let those things bother you, it's because you let them bother you.
Right.
Those people are just clueless to the world, and they've been raised to think you have to be this person. You have to own these things and have these friends. Don't. Have real friends.
Yeah.
Have real things that are important to you.
He's so far beyond everyone with what he's gone through. So
I said, life is the one thing that you can't get back. I said, everything else you can buy again.
Yeah.
So live your life. What you do when you grow up, I don't have a clue. I can't tell you that. I can tell you to do what you love.
Yeah.
And I said, where that takes you, I don't know. And I said, you may change your mind 10 times. And I've changed my mind a couple times because you'll lead into somewhere else. One job leads you somewhere else, and it opens up an avenue of something different. And that's it. That's the way life should be. And you should be flexible enough to follow those and not be stuck doing something you hate.
Yeah. No.
So life's hard enough. It's so hard. And to say that you have to be this person, you have to have this job, and you have to own this car.
Oh, I saw a shadow and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, is it a turkey or a chicken?
Nope, that's a feline. We're good. You never know what's going to walk in this house. Actually, we've never had a chicken in the house. I will say that.
I was going to say.
Now, the Jenny, the turkey, she has always left the door open once. And I walked around the corner. I was like, why is there a turkey in the house? Nobody panic.
Earlier you were talking and there were two chickens out there like jumping on each other. And I was like, stare at her. Don't look at the chicken.
I wouldn't trade this living for anything. Now, my husband, he might trade the birds. But
I love this. This is my dream.
Just to let them run loose. I say my children can run loose. It's fine. And to have chickens just roaming in your front yard randomly, it's good. It's fine. And a really special turkey that probably, and this is horrible, but he's probably outlived his life expectancy, and he walks in circles instead of straight lines because he's special. He's super special to us. And so we have Quackers that's laying in the backyard that has, paralysis of one leg, and we have to pick her up. But it's all special people here. We're special lovers. Yes, everybody is special, right, Tux?
That's funny.
But it's these things, and that's what I tell Brayden. It's to appreciate all of these things. Mm-hmm. You have so much that others don't, and what you appreciate may not be what they do. But if you worry about all those things, you're worrying about things that are going to weigh you down, and you'll forget about the things that you can actually fix and change and make important to you.
Right.
And I try every day with him, and some days it's hard. These teenage years, oh my gosh, they didn't prepare you for that either. Because
I'm scared because I was rough. I was good, but I was a little sassy.
That's okay.
Those hormones.
Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna be a little. I'm gonna get some payback.
They say you get a spawn of yourself times 2.
I already did, and she's only 2. So,
but that'll make your life so interesting.
I know.
It'll keep you on your toes. It'll infuriate you some days, and other days you're gonna knock your head against the wall. Like, I have not gotten anything done today, and I've not gotten through to her. But magically, you did. And I see it in Brayden. There's days I'm thinking, okay, Lord, I'm not going to make these teenage years. You're going to have to come save me because we're going round and round, and I'm having to breathe deeply and walk away.
Yeah.
Because but that's teenagers. We'll sleep till 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. because we stayed up till 1 at night. Mm-hmm. We may eat 10 things and leave it all over the counter. And it's like, who left all the wrappers? Or there's the empty toaster strudel box in the refrigerator or the freezer, and you go to get one and there's none in there, but the box is in there. It's like, dude,
come on, man,
throw it away.
It's just the garbage can's right there
because now I want one and there's none.
And you saw it, so you thought you were getting one, and then you were so disappointed.
Empty box. It's like,
I know that feeling. Well, I'm gonna attach on here where people can donate
Okay.
And I'll of course get that info for you in case it's changed. Everybody can help out because I know everyone's going to hear this story and want to be like, okay, what can I do for them? So
There's families waiting, I promise.
Yes.
And we're not the last family. We won't be near the last family. Every day I find a new family that's come on board in the St. Jude families, and they're asking for, what do I bring? What does this look like? What does this look like? And you realize that fear and you recognize it. And I remember it. I remember being that family, sitting in that chair, watching all these kids and moms go by and just holding Anna Kate, because I don't know what the next day looks like. And they're in their routines. And there's a family every day that lands in those chairs, and they're waiting to be kind of integrated into that world. And it's definitely an integration process, but it's amazing how fast you integrate.
yeah,
But with everything going on nowadays in the world, there's so many unknowns, and I don't know what those families, are facing, because with COVID, it was only one parent and one child only. That's all that could be there. No other family, not even in Target House. It was one child, one caregiver.
wow.
And so I thought, if that had been us, that would have been devastating. Like, I don't know what that outcome would have looked like. I can't even fathom the stress level Mike would have had here with Braden, if me there with Anna Kate, because she wouldn't have let me leave her side. So we would have had to figure that out. And him trying to work and trying to take Braden to school, and me trying to navigate a medical life that I have no clue about.
By yourself.
Yes. And
No.
I can't fathom. And those people are living it right now. So this year more than anything, and that's what we've promised Jennifer, you give us a list. You tell us what is most needed. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Like and you were with us when the air hockey table went out at Target House. They had to take it down because a piece broke off of it. And, the kids were missing it.
Yeah.
And we finally got them to tell us, what's something we could buy.
Yeah.
And it was the air hockey table.
Yeah.
I'm like, done.
Yeah.
Give us a few minutes. And literally we had 2 en route.
Oh my God.
But it was because of the kindness of somebody. Somebody knew somebody that knew somebody else that worked at a factory that made those tables.
Right.
And how that all worked, I don't know to this day. But magically, within a week period, they had a brand new table up and running.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so it's, without an army, none of this is possible. And I know that. I can't do it by myself. And I have to have people. And I have to be open with my story and with her story in order for that army to build, and so that it spreads, not for her legacy, but for all of those families that are in those walls. Because St. Jude can't take care of everything.
No.
They take care of so much.
Yeah.
They can't take care of every nook and cranny and stay on their feet and do their purpose that they're there for. And we know that. And it's an amazing place. But that's where we fill in those gaps.
Yeah.
And we make sure those families are covered.
Yep.
So,
Incredible.
yes. So thank you for this.
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thank you for doing this. Whew, I feel like emotionally exhausted.
I know. Hey.
I'm sorry.
No, that's a good thing. Because
know.
it kind of weighs, it takes it off of you too. It
I
feels
know.
like you've got a little piece of that pushed off. And every time I share her story, it's like I feel her spirit around me, and it's just, I
I
can
know.
picture her standing there like smiling ear to ear,
I
like,
know.
you got this. It's okay.
Yeah. And she's all over my fridge with her little magnets. We have like 5 of them. So I think about it every day. And she has made me take in every single moment with my kids. Like literally like it's last day, honestly. Even when I'm like feeling frustrated, I'm like, okay, okay. I'm still going to take this in.
I know.
So
As bad as it's going right
as
now,
crazy
it's fine.
as
Yes.
just as spanking Raylan right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, but anyway, so
Somebody has somebody's hair, or somebody's pulling on
Oh,
something.
absolutely.
Or they both are crying, and you have no reason why they're both
screaming
crying.
and crying,
No.
and then my anxiety goes through the roof. It's fun.
Yes, great. It's definitely something you can sit back and think of. That's what I keep thinking. When I'm retired and they're grown, I will miss every bit of this.
I know. I
will
don't
miss this.
like it. It's a balance between like, okay, the next stage, and then I don't want to get to the next stage. And honestly, I do not want them to grow up. I don't even care about getting to the next stage.
No.
Like I'll change diapers forever. I don't want
Yes.
them to grow up.
Well, it's like you worry about your house. Like, at night, I'm like, we need to pick up. But I'm thinking, why? Why
I know.
am
I used to be
worrying about
so
that?
serious about
Yeah.
it, but I'm now, because like I'd be like, that needs to go in the garbage. But I'm like, okay, it's okay. I'm gonna leave it there just to make myself know it's
Yes.
okay.
Yes, it's fine.
We're living there. We have
Yes.
children. My friend says it best. She says we're surviving day by day. We're just surviving. And I'm like, you're right.
My house is lived in.
Yes.
It's not a showcase. It's not meant to be
It's
that.
like it feels way more like home, honestly.
Yes. Well, until you step on the Matchbox car in the middle of the night, then then the adrenaline goes up a little bit, and you might hear the yelling go like, why is there a car in the middle of the floor? This is those things. And because in this house, everything has a home, and that's what I tell them. If it doesn't have a home, then we shouldn't have it. That means we've got too much.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
really good. I'm gonna use that.
He'll look at me and be like, It doesn't have a home. Okay, then we need to share it with somebody else that needs a toy that has a home for it. And of course, magically we find a home.
Yeah, he's
for
like,
it.
oh wait, this is a home for it.
Shove it in this box. It's fine.
That's awesome. That's
But we do.
perfect.
We have homes. Now, we don't always put them in their homes, but as
Yeah.
long as when we do a deep clean, everything has a home, I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Until I step on them Legos or the Matchbox cars in the middle of the night, and then it's everything in my breath to hold it in.
I know.
Breathe. Like,
I know.
okay, it hurts. It hurts really bad. But I'm
know.
okay.
I know.
I'm okay.
I think that I'm, finally got on some anxiety medication, and I've never had anxiety in my life. So postpartum anxiety hit me like that. And I finally don't have that fire feeling when things like that happen. So now I'm going to be like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
So it is an amazing feeling to get past that.
Yes. Yes.
But thank you so much for
You're
doing
welcome.
this. We literally could talk 5 more hours.
I
This
know,
is the longest
all day.
podcast ever, but I love it. Thank you seriously for sharing this story. I'm going to share with everybody details of how they can help. And then hopefully by the time I post this, we will have a fundraiser date for my little fundraiser, and we
Exciting.
can have some fun.
Yes. We have plenty of people now. We have
Yes.
outreaches in Memphis,
Okay.
so it's good.
Yeah,
We've got,
yeah.
They're waiting. So
Okay, good. Yeah.
it's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.